Welcome back to Davis Podcast. Today is Tuesday, December 23rd. We're back from the podcast.
We're back. We're here. It's week of Christmas. And like I promised, you have both Jason and I here doing the reaction pod from this past weekend's games. And we will also be doing another podcast later on this week to do the previews of most of the NFL games for next week. Because we're going to do like the three Christmas Day games. We're going to make our predictions on that game. And then we saw the rest of the slate to do on that. So we'll do a reaction pod on Friday of the Christmas Day games. And then we'll do the previews of the rest of the slate and do it that way. So without further ado, I really have nothing. For today, the whole plan is to go ahead and do the reaction to the college football playoff games. One little news thing I wanted to talk about with college football, and then we'll go into the NFL where we'll do our reactions to all the games that happened during Week 16, and then we'll go from there, make our picks for the Christmas Day games, and then that'll be us for the pod. So so without further ado, I don't have any. You don't have any like baseball or basketball things you want to talk about at all? Basketball you never do. Baseball. Did you see LeBron grab the one official by the arm because he was mad about a call or something? And everybody was like all shocked because LeBron did something that, he never does, which is like maybe make a little bit of an ass out of himself because he's mad at something happening. It's kind of funny. But again, LeBron's LeBron. For so long he's been the perfect person. Maybe not person, but the perfect role model for literally a whole sport. You have to imagine him being in his 40s. There's maybe a little bit of a I don't care factor in there to where some things might happen when he's trying to play competitive basketball. But it was shocking because he grabbed the official by like his underarm trying to get his attention because he was mad about a call that didn't get called. But it's funny enough. Baseball, I got nothing. There's really literally nothing.
There's nothing going on.
No big signing for the Yankees. I was kind of looking for that. I'm like, no, they're playing it very chill. Really nothing going on. And let's just,
that's kind of it. Sports have been really.
It's all football. It's football. Like everything's
being.
being.
Year. It's football kind of takes over this time of year in a way that other sports supplement and fill in.
I guess we're into college basketball.
Basketball's happening. The Knicks won the cup.
Yeah, but
they'll never win an actual ring.
But here's my thing: do people actually care about the cup?
That's cool. Unless
you're the fan of the team winning the cup, do you give a ounce of a fuck about it?
It's cool. It's cool if you're
the courts are really cool.
Some of them aren't.
Some of them are a little too loud. It kind of gives me like the Boise field vibe when they have like an all blue field.
I don't hate Boise's field, but again, it's like
I'm not mad when people like look at it and be like, oh, it hurts my eyes. I'm like, yeah, it's a little bright blue.
You know who does it better? Coastal Carolina.
They do like the teal, right?
The teal. They do it way fucking better.
And why am I thinking there's like a Western Kentucky or something like that has the all red field? Or am I just going crazy?
Nope, you might be right.
There's somebody that does that. It's like red or something like that.
Western Kentucky. No, they do the green.
It's somebody that does all red football field and it's college football. I swear it is. Maybe I'm going insane. Eastern Washington. There we go.
That's fucking horrendous. That's horrendous.
At least they outline it with the black a little bit to try to mute it out a tad bit. Okay, so I'm not crazy. I'm glad you were able to confirm.
That's nice.
The teal ain't bad.
I like that.
But here's again, it's a lighter teal, so it's like not as strong.
If it was a little darker, I think it'd look better.
It's well, like if it gets any darker, you're talking about the Boise. You're getting close to the Boise field.
But again, it's surrounded by like the gold and white.
Yeah, no, it's nice.
I
it's not
quite
bad.
like that.
Not to mention, do you know what it kind of gives me the vibe of as you were showing me that picture? The old. It's almost like the Miami field. Like you think about
Miami field.
It's like it's older turf because it's been sitting for so long. The grass starts to age, so it's not actually green anymore. It starts fading.
Yeah,
that's the vibe it gives me because that teal.
I really like it. I think they have a nice field. It's one of my favorite teams to play against in college football because I like how their field looks. Playing on Boise's field is blinding, even when the game This is fucking blinding. And then they wear the blue jersey. I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't see you.
Like you're just trying to go like missing on the
You're
field.
killing me.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's insane. Oh, and speaking of fields, Kansas City, did you hear that they are moving? So, Kansas City, the Chiefs, NFL. Sorry, you were talking about fields, so just a perfect spot to kind of jump it in there. Kansas City in 2031 will be moving to a brand new stadium that's being built in Kansas. 20 miles away from where they're at now in Kansas City, Missouri. They are actually moving to Kansas.
Where are they at?
They're in Missouri. They're in Kansas City, Missouri.
Oh.
Because Kansas City is like right on the border. What Kansas City did, which is like honestly a very specific thing that only they can do because they're so close to both states, right in between both states. They pinned the two states against each other. They said whoever's going to give us more money, taxpayer money, towards building a new stadium, we're going to go there. And they got more money from taxpayer money from Kansas to build a new stadium, and it's going to be a dome.
Cool.
So they're going to move 20 miles west to go to Kansas. Kind of insane. I again, nobody else, because if any other team tried to do that, it's always, hey, we're going to move 30 states away to San Antonio, or it's Vegas it's the Raiders moving from Oakland to Vegas. So like they're moving far away, right? But when you're talking,
it's a state away.
That's hours. That's from Oakland to Vegas.
You're talking like the St. Louis Rams to Los Angeles. That's far.
Yes.
From Oakland to Vegas? Nigga, that's 6 hours.
Yeah, you're right. It's not the craziest car
Or the
ride.
Supersonics to Oklahoma City.
Right, yes.
You're talking
states
away.
States away, yes. That's where teams usually do, where they're like, hey,
the A's
or the Jaguars, and you're saying, hey, if we don't get a new stadium here, we're going to move to freaking London.
You guys can go. Fucking leave.
They got the deal done. So they're going to get a whole...
Moving to London?
No. They got the deal done. They're going to have a whole complex they're building. Because, again, here's what's the crazy part. They all want to do what the Patriots do and make these huge stadiums and then have all these surrounding buildings that have businesses and then be able to charge all these businesses for rent. That's how they make their money on the back end. Even though barely any of them actually pay for their full stadium. All of them ask for taxpayer money to pay for a specific, like, half or a chunk of it. Do you know the one coach... The one owner that paid for all of his stadium? I hate to give him credit.
Jerry Jones.
It's Jerry fucking Jones. He said, nope, I don't need y'all money. I can do it with my own oil money. Which is great. Good for him, but also, he's done so many other different things I'm not going to be on his side for.
We were having this conversation upstairs. If you were to get rich, Ohio has a Powerball right now for like $1.7 billion.
Yeah.
After taxes, you'll get like $700 to $65 million. Right?
$600 to $700 million.
Yeah. My bad. I would never give anybody money, but I'd buy businesses and have them be a part of it.
I'm not. I give people money.
No. See, I can't give people money because as soon as me personally, I would waste a lot of it. In a way, I'm not going to let people try to waste it. I'm going to try to set everybody else up for success. Also, I would like to live on like a family compound I have like, let's say 100 acres of land, 20 of it's used for a couple houses for my family.
Yeah.
And we get each other like side by sides.
Yeah.
But then I don't have to build multiple different houses. And then like we have stuff like one big pool.
Right.
And then the rest of the land's working land. Animals that's being worked.
Me and you we handle that very differently. I would give everybody their money.
I'm not giving anybody money.
This is how I'll deal with it, right?
I'm going to set everybody up to where they can make their own money. To where eventually, 5-6 years from now, we're all rich.
Well, but here's the thing. When you do that, you're then saying that you know better than they do.
Yes, I'm not giving you $1 million.
Maybe.
You're giving our sister money?
Yeah. I'd give her a one-time stipend of like, hey, I'm paying you out. If I'm getting $600 million, I'm going to give you your $2 million. Boom.
If you get $600 million and cut me off $2 million, I'm beating your ass.
You want more than that?
$600 million? Nigga, if you don't cut me off 30 right now,
30 is crazy.
600 million, Javante.
Yeah.
600 million. You could take 100 million and cut it evenly between the rest of us.
I gotta live.
What you mean live? You living forever. You rich now.
All right, 2 million's probably. I'd give you like 10. I'll give you all 10.
Nigga, we better
10 mil a piece.
You better cut us off 20 million a piece.
I give you all. Just say this is it. This is the money,
and then I'll pay you back the money I owe you. An exact cash.
That'll be literally like nickels by that. If that happened, that would be nickels.
But
by
you'd
that
still
point.
want it.
When's the drawing?
I don't know.
Dang,
I didn't do it.
Makes me want to go and buy the Powerball.
But again, like it's like.
But no, I give you guys your money, and then I'll be like, hey, this is the money. I'm not giving you any more. What you guys decide to do with it is you. But what I will do is, like you said, with the maybe not a compound type of thing, but I would buy a big thing of land, put a bunch of houses on it, and be like, hey, I'll build all these houses. These are all gonna be reasonable houses. These are not gonna be nothing crazy.
I'm saying personally,
I'm not gonna ask people to do farm stuff.
No, I'm not saying anybody has to do farm stuff. I'm saying there'd be a part that's still making me money.
Right. Okay.
Now it's just my land. Somebody else is running that, but it's making me money.
I get what you're saying.
I would own. That was the next thing. Is if I'm gonna have a family compound, I'm gonna own a couple businesses. Yeah. And if you guys want to help and learn how to run these businesses, you can do that, because then you can make your own money. I'm making revenue from the business, and you're getting a salary from the business.
Yeah, I would just buy businesses and do it that way.
So would I, and I'd buy like complexes, especially because we live in a great state to do stuff like that. They're always building.
I guess, yeah.
Personally, when I think a family compound's cool, we have like side by
or
side.
not even just a compound. I guess a compound you could do more specific things like that.
I call it a compound of like we'd have like one big pool,
right? Yeah,
and then several houses with like pathways to get to them.
Yeah. Okay.
We'd have like side by sides, 4-wheelers, stuff to get everywhere.
Yeah.
But I was like, personally, if I was to win the money, I'm gonna have my own decent sized house. It's gonna have a bunch of cool stuff. Like I want a spiral staircase. That looks cool. That's cool to me. And then like it would cut off. This is the first thing I built. It would cut off, probably about a little further past the house. It got a 40-car garage, lift and everything. I told Mom, I was like, the first thing I would do, if numbers ain't even been finished drawing, they ain't even finished the program yet, and I know I've won. I have 15 cars. I've emailed 15 dealers. They'll be here tomorrow.
I would buy a maxed out electric vehicle and call it a day.
I am going to find the rarest cars on the planet and then drive them every day. I'm going to drive a different one every day.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm going to drive one for the first couple hours of the day, first like 6 hours a day, come back home, jump in a different one, drive that one.
Yeah.
Again, rich people don't drive.
Oh, by the way, a nice extravagant trip where all expenses paid would be the first thing I do of anything.
I said, I was like, in a month, I'm going to Japan. I was like, I have to. I was like, I'm about to just start going. And then I was like, other stuff I do, I was like, I would just go to like a different state every few weeks just to like their biggest city, see what it's like. Just because how many people can say they've been to all 50 states?
Not just states. I go to countries, man.
I know,
you
but
said Japan.
I'd want to explore
go to Europe
here first because there's so much here. I go to all like the biggest cities in each state.
Yeah.
Because like in certain states, like there's 4 in Texas. So you got San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, and then the fourth one that I can't remember the name of.
San Antonio, Dallas,
Sacramento. That's in California.
No, are you thinking about the new one? You're thinking about Austin.
Austin. That's what it is.
That one's like the up and come. It's like the Columbus.
It's the hipster one.
It's the Columbus of Texas.
They call it the hipster one.
Yeah, it's the girl.
Where the Democrats are.
No, that's not the Democrats.
Again, I don't care. I'm going I'd go to all 4 of those.
Uh-huh.
I'd be in LA for like 30 minutes. I'm like, it smells like shit here. Let's go home.
Same thing with San Francisco. Be the same issue.
I want to go home.
Yeah.
I just stay in Hawaii for a little bit.
Hawaii would be like that. Might be like the all around like everybody going trip type of thing.
No,
like, hey, we're all just going to Hawaii.
I'd have to take everyone with me to Japan.
See, I don't think everybody would get things out of Japan that we would. I think it'd be like a brother trip for sure.
I think everyone would get the beauty out of Japan, of just the looking of the country, of all this is so old and historic. Yeah. There's nothing old and historic here. The oldest statue here is like 300 years old. Like, what the fuck? Like, there's nothing to really look at here. Like, the Grand Canyon would be cool.
Yeah.
Just because it's a marvel to look at.
Yeah.
But, like, compared to I go to a country that's been around for ages and ages. There's so much to look at. Japan's one of those countries there's a whole bunch to look at.
Yeah.
Italy's a place where there's a whole bunch to look at.
China.
I'm not going to Russia. What the fuck do I want to go there for?
China to go to the Great Wall would be kind of sick.
That'd be cool. See, I want to go to... I don't know what the building's called in Russia. The really colorful one.
No clue.
You know what it is. It's in Moscow. Is that the capital?
I think so. Colorful building in Russia. It's been looked up before, so that means we're close. St. Basile's Cathedral?
Yes, that. You've seen that before.
I've definitely seen that for sure.
Yes,
yeah,
okay,
I've
I'm
seen
not
it before.
tripping.
Yeah, no doubt. I've
That's
seen
just
it.
the one. Like, I'd want to go see like Taj Mahal.
Taj Mahal.
Like stuff that's just a marvel.
The pyramids.
Nah, I'm straight.
I want to see what the aliens built.
Nah, I'm straight. See, that's the one where I'm like, somebody's trying to sell me something here. Like, I've seen the videos of it, of like, I don't want to go to that one. I feel bad saying that. I don't want to go to that one.
Hey, I don't know who built it. Who knows?
I'll go see it from afar. Give me some binoculars.
Again, it's not like they're going to let anybody in anyway, so it is what it is.
That's one I'm like, I can live without it.
I get what you're saying.
Like, but like, there's so much more I could do with that money. I'd buy enough businesses and stuff to where I'm now just living off the revenue from what I'm making.
Yeah, no doubt. Put a big chunk of it into just the like a SPM. I forget what they call it.
It's a high savings account.
Yeah, high interest
savings account, and then I'm just living off the interest.
Living off the interest
of like, but like my family compound is my first thing. I'd build an area where everybody has a large scale house.
Yeah,
4 bedrooms.
You can live
4 bedrooms, like it's plenty.
You don't have to pay for it.
You don't have to pay for it. All you have to do is.
See, I'd give everybody their money and build the compound, but that's just me. Maybe I'm just more giving than you are.
I'd build the compound, and then your options are you going into business with me so that I can make everyone rich, or you're going to keep working your job? Because your job don't pay for this house. So let's figure it out. And then I'd want to move states.
Yeah, staying in Ohio.
But I don't know which state to move to. Forests scare me. Big forests scare me. So a state like Oregon, where I'd want to buy a large plot of land.
Oregon.
A state like Oregon would freak me out.
I get what you're saying.
Like Tennessee would freak me the fuck out. I don't like Tennessee. I don't like more in the cabins. It's awful. Something's looking at me, and I can't see.
Yeah, that is a real potential issue. No, I agree.
I would 100%. I couldn't cut everybody a chunk of money off. I would not give money to our sister. She's never had money, so I feel like she wouldn't know what to do with money. See, and then she'd waste it.
That's where, maybe I could just give everybody do it like the old man with his children vibe and just say, hey, I'm putting everybody in an account that's controlled by a third party. And if you have something you need to buy, you need to talk to that person. You need to give them a good reason as to why you need it.
I'd want to set everybody else up for success. So in 5 to 6 years, you're rich on your own.
So that's where my problem is that why I wouldn't be comfortable doing that is because if I fuck up and put money into the wrong thing and make us all broke, we're fucked. It's over.
The other thing is after I buy all the stupid shit I'm going to buy for like a month, I'm going to now find people who are smarter than me to help me run these things. Yeah, that's the first thing I would want to do is I'm going to surround me by people who are smarter than I am.
I get the idea.
And then I'm going to enlighten myself. Like I'm going to go get some type of degree so I understand what I'm doing with my money. Teach myself how to work with my own money while having somebody else explain and show me how to work with the money. And then I can start helping everybody else truly. I have to help myself first and set myself up to where I can always have money before I can truly set everybody else up. If I was to win, I'd probably tell no one for a while.
But here's my thing. I think a move like that is not as necessary when you're getting the absorbent amount of money you're getting.
But that's the thing.
If you're getting a couple million, then that's something where you have to be very strategic.
Is great. But I'm going to make sure my family is rich for the rest of our history. We are never going broke.
Yeah, but if you just throw a big amount of money into the high interest stuff. That literally that
the
works the
thing.
exact same way.
But then I'm just rich for nothing. Now I'm not going to sit around and do nothing. I have to do something with my money. So I'm going to buy things, and I'm going to make sure my family is rich for the rest of time. Till that sun fucking explodes, I want to make sure my family's rich.
I don't know why that doesn't appeal to me at all.
I want generations.
I wouldn't. I'm honestly not just going to blow it all, right?
If you could blow $650 million, you need to be studied.
Yeah, for sure.
That'd be crazy.
But that wouldn't be my goal. My goal wouldn't just be to burn it all. To burn it all into smithereens within a couple generations. But I'm not going to sit here and be like, I have to build an empire out of this now. Like, that's not really what I'm thinking about.
I'm not saying an empire, but I want to have enough money by the time I'm 50 to buy the Bengals. So, you know.
That it's a real goal.
There's levels to this.
That's a real goal. I'll give you that. That's a real goal because, heck, by the time you even get there, football teams be worth like $20 billion.
Exactly.
It won't just be a couple billion.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Just that $650 million is only enough to pay Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Joe Burrow.
That's barely enough to pay them. Barely.
Exactly.
Barely.
And that's basically all the Bengals have. So I have enough to do it.
That's only for a season. That's only for their contracts, and that's over.
Shit, with how Joe Burrow's feeling, it may only be for another season.
Yeah, no doubt.
But again, it was a talk upstairs because it's spurred from, would you punch your significant other for $1 billion? And I was like, yes, I'd beat the shit out of you for $1 billion. I was like, if you told me no, then I picked the wrong person to be with.
Yeah.
And she was like, you think Joe would let you? I was like, Joe would close his eyes and tell me to do it. I was like, if we're splitting it 50-50.
Yeah, no doubt. It didn't have to be 50-50. Just give me a big chunk and we'll be fine.
I could knock Joe out. He'd never even care.
Give me a big chunk and then pay for my medical bills and they'll be fine. Like, there is no if, there's about to, like, again, that's so easy. That's an easy thing.
$1 billion.
When it comes to start killing people for it, we already had this conversation on podcast. I couldn't do it. I'm a weakling that way. But if I decided to punch somebody in the face to make it happen,
she was like, you think
you can
would
live
punch
through
you in
that?
the face? I was like, he would clean my shit.
Yeah. No
like
question.
he'd go in there.
I'd go as hard as I
to
can.
Break my jaw.
I would get brass knuckles if necessary.
I was like,
I would do what I have to do.
Someone was like, well, what if they don't have to punch you in your face? And I was like, then Joe would probably try to cave my chest in.
Yeah, do what you got to do. Yeah.
Gotta do what you gotta do. I was like,
again,
that's rich for life.
The odds, the gain is so much larger
than the risk.
That I don't care. It doesn't matter. I can fix it. Money can fix that.
Fix it.
That whatever I do to you, money can fix that.
Money can fix it.
Like once you start talking about cutting off limbs and stuff, that's a totally separate scenario.
I don't know which limb and do I get to pick.
Well, fingers, yes, but once you start cutting off like whole legs,
how far up my arm do I have to cut off? Are we stop at the elbow? I can get a really cool prosthetic.
No, once you're that rich, you don't have to live a regular life anymore.
I'm just saying, if you're talking,
nobody has to see you with no arm unless you don't want. If you don't want them to.
Somebody comes to you, hey, your dominant arm, elbow down, cut it off, $1 billion. They can hardwire a prosthetic into my arm.
Oh,
I have so much money.
Okay. Tax free?
Oh, tax free. It's $1 billion.
Okay, fine. Yes, then I'll manage. But
I'm about to get the coolest bionic arm.
The thought, because again, it's so easy. Like moving your finger doesn't take a second of thought.
Here's that thing: you are now rich enough to where you will have the highest technology on that arm.
I know, but
it won't take a thought. It won't take a thought.
You think that, but we don't know because we don't have the capability. We don't have.
I don't care.
The means.
We rich
to see it. I get it. No, I get it.
We have the means to see it. I have the means to fund it.
Yeah, but who knows if that's actually going to work that way? But again, you're
right.
I
have the money to find out.
The risk is. Yeah.
I have the money to find out now.
Yeah.
The risk and the reward, you could take it.
Doing it to myself is one thing, but doing it to others, I think, would be an automatic no. Hey, you got to cut off Jace's arm to go do it. I'm like, I don't think I can do it.
If you came to me, tell me you didn't cut my arm off to go get that $1 billion, I'd beat your ass with that arm.
Well, obviously, that I would never tell you. I would just have to live with that. I would just live with that. I wouldn't tell you nothing.
Me go through struggle, and you're like,
I could have fixed it all.
I could have fixed this,
but he wouldn't be able to walk.
Fuck the leg, bro.
I couldn't do it.
See, you know what's funny? A leg is where you get me to be iffy. A leg is where you get me to be iffy.
An arm you can live without, but the leg
you could take my. See, I want this to here. I want down to here.
Okay,
This
so
portion I want.
you still want to feel some movement there.
Because it's easier to get a prosthetic.
Yeah.
From your hand up,
Yeah.
it's easier to put a prosthetic on it.
Yeah, for sure.
Compared to you can still connect it to the tendons that still work.
Yeah.
Compared to the whole thing's on.
Yeah.
That's a lot harder.
Yeah.
A like a leg to do it with. I've seen I had a friend who had a false leg.
Uh-huh.
And it was one of the ones you had to charge.
Uh-huh.
It worked really well until it died. It died one day during class, and he went to stand up, and the leg didn't move. And at the time, those were pretty new.
Right, yeah.
And he was like, I don't know what to do. And I was like, take it off. I was like, crawl. But like, I couldn't do a leg. I think that's where you lose me, because I gotta learn how to walk again. Like, I'm not.
A little too much of a life change?
That was a little too much.
A little too much of a life change. No, for sure, it'd be very rich. Okay. Yeah, I think we had fun with that, right? We had a lot of fun with that.
We don't have a whole lot of sports talk. And it was like, that amount of money is so crazy to me.
Yeah, no doubt.
Of like, I can now go pursue my dream.
Literally whatever.
I don't know what that is yet.
Not even the dream. It's just like
I'm now living the dream.
Again, it just buys you a sense of freedom.
That is unfathomable.
That's unfathomable. And I think that's like one of those things. It's like, oh, life is different when you have the freedom of that. Like you don't have to go to work tomorrow because you don't have to worry about whether you have to eat or.
I see why rich people live so long.
Right. And
I have no stress.
Or they get mad about other shit. And it's like, oh, money doesn't buy you happiness. But I'm like, well,
you are lying.
It doesn't buy
you.
Total
money will
happiness.
Buy total fucking happiness. Money will buy total fucking happiness. You are lying to me, especially if me and my family is rich, which is where it comes from. I'm trying to set everybody else also to be rich. So now you don't have to rely on me for money. You have your own money. When you cut somebody off a chunk of money, they're going to come for more if they run out. I want to make sure no one has to come for more. I couldn't, dude. No.
Yeah, it's just the freedom of it. The freedom is what. I think that, to me, that's what's more appealing. Because if I could just buy a little, a literal, what do they call them? Tiny house. Have a place to throw it some. No, but here's the thing. Just have a car to be able to move it. Not have to worry about that. And then don't have to worry about, slaving away to try to pay for me being able to live and be able to eat food. That's a totally separate mindset you get to be in when you don't have to worry about those type of things. Then if you're just sitting there in the everyday struggles of life, having to think about, hey, if I call off work today, that might ruin my chance to be able to eat or be able to go buy food the way I need to, or pay for rent, or just just the necessities. Again, all these necessities that should be available to everybody, no matter who you are. But again, it is what it is. Capitalist society. But yeah, very, very fun conversation there. I'm not gonna lie to you. So let's actually get to the sports. What we are here for. College football. Let's get to that first. So the college football playoff games, there was only 4 of them. I would contend there really were only 2 actual games. Am I wrong on that?
No, you're not wrong.
2 actual games. Let me get to the bracket here. So all these games, they happened between Friday and Saturday of this past weekend. I was recording during the Alabama game. By the time I jumped off, Oklahoma was already up by 10 points. It was up 10-0. And they actually got up to 17-0 in the second quarter before they let Alabama score 17 unanswered in that second quarter before the first half was over. That was capped off by a pick 6 that John Mateer threw, and that's what totally tied the game up going into the second half. And then from there, OU shit down their own leg, and Alabama was able to score 17 points to Oklahoma 7. But it's just once Oklahoma got into that hole and their confidence was shattered, they really just had no shot to really get back into that game. Because offensively, I've been talking about how the Oklahoma offense had been terrible all year long, at least ever since Mateer broke his thumb on his throwing hand. The offense has been bad. But, they were rolling up until they shit down their leg in that first half, and it just felt like all the momentum went towards Alabama's way, and there was nothing Oklahoma could possibly do about it. And then once they really got down, and they had to throw the football every single time to try to get back into the game, it was never going to happen because Oklahoma's offense was not built to play like that. Bama did what they had to do. Ty Simpson. Here's the thing. Bama didn't even necessarily play awesome. And I truly think it was because Oklahoma shit down their own legs and Bama was just able to play normal football. That was ended up being the difference. Ty Simpson, 18 of 29 for 232 and 2 touchdowns. Rushing yards. Bama only had 28 total rushing yards in this game.
Damn.
With their longest run being for 30. Like, that was the running game for Alabama. They haven't been able to run the football all year long. They still weren't able to run the football in this game. The Ryan Williams, the crazy good wide receiver for Alabama, 1 catch for 5 yards. So, but the other receivers obviously made a big difference. Latsier Brooks, 5 catches, 79 yards, 2 touchdowns. Isaiah Horton, 5 catches, 65 yards. Jeremy Bernard, 3 catches, 40 yards. Ryan Williams isn't even a top 3 wide receiver in his own on that team. It's absolutely hilarious how people were trying to compare him to Jeremiah. So, like, there was, like, the Alabama offense was just able to play normal in that second half while Oklahoma pretty much turned into dog shit. I will give Oklahoma a tad bit of credit that John Mateer did hit 1 pass in that second half where it was an open pass to their wide receiver, and all he had to do was catch it, and he'd be running into the end zone, and they would have gone up. I think they would have gone up, like, 12 with like 10 minutes left in that ball game. I think I may be maybe wrong on that, but they would have went back up and had a bigger lead. I think it was 10 points, and maybe would have made it a little bit harder on Alabama to try to come back in that game. But it was bad all around. Oklahoma didn't play with the way they needed to, especially with them being at home. It felt like their fans were okay in the stands for the first half, and then as soon as things started going bad, you could just tell the fans were getting a bad thought. It's like, oh, this is really going bad, and then it's just like a nervous energy watching that game. And give Bama a lot of credit. They came out there, they took advantage of the moment that Oklahoma gave to them, and they went out and won that football game. But it was a very awesome, it was a very good game to watch, even if it was more of like a lot of scoring, but it didn't really feel like it was a true. It felt like it was really bad in the first most of the first half up until Bama came back, and in the second half it was all dominated by Bama. But there was at least enough up and downs to kind of keep you locked in. Going into Saturday, Miami and Texas A&M. That game was an absolute slugfest. Miami ended up winning that game 10-3. It was bad, man. It was just Texas A&M was able to go up and down the field.
That game was bad,
dude. It was a terrible,
fucking snooze fest. I fell asleep
game.
during that game. It was awful.
Terrible game.
I woke up and it was close to ending. It was 10-3, and I was like, I was trash.
It was so bad. It was a very windy day. Apparently, it was like 20 to 30 mile per hour gust all throughout the game happening, and that messed up the passing as well as the kicking. I think was it Texas A&M or Miami? It was Miami's kicker. He missed like 3 out of 4 kicks that he had in that game. All of them within decent yardage. Like, they were all like 40 yards and unders. Like, it wasn't like they were making him attempt 50-something yarders. He was getting some real short shots, and he was missing them because of how bad the wind was. But when it came to like going up, like Miami's offense did just enough. They had the one big drive there in the fourth quarter to kind of get them up 7 to score the 1 touchdown that they scored in that game. And that was the difference in this game. But it just like Miami really couldn't score for the most part in this game. Carson Beck, 14 of 20 for 100 yards and a touchdown. Mark Fletcher, their running back, was definitely a workhorse for them, though. He had 17 carries for 172 yards. So, like, they were able to run the football pretty effectively, but almost felt like they should have ran more throughout the game because their passing game really wasn't working. Obviously, it was almost like a game plan where they were like, hey, Carson Beck, the quarterback we paid $4 million to go from Georgia to us. Let's just not have you go out there and make any mistakes, and let's just keep running the football and just hope we can kind of get the score when we need it. And they did, to their credit. The biggest player for that Miami team in that game was, why am I forgetting the guy's name? It was Malachi Toney. He had
their running back.
It was like he's wide receiver, freshman wide receiver.
Oh,
He had 5 catches, 22 yards, and a touchdown in that
They
game.
were talking about him, saying how special he was coming in. That he wasn't supposed to start, and he ended up forcing his way into a spot.
And he came in as like a 17-year-old, so he came in early.
Reclassified
And all of it.
He's what Ryan Williams is supposed to be.
Yeah, no doubt. But he came in, played very good in that game. He was like the only guy because he had a very good punt return that I think he just got tripped up like literally at like in the red zone. That would have been a chance at a touchdown, but they didn't necessarily get that. But he had that, and then he had the touchdown run as well. And then I think he had a fumble in the middle of that game as well that he was like hurt over. You could tell he was like almost crying on the sidelines after making that mistake. But they came back to him, and he paid them off. He did very well in that moment when they gave him the chance to go out there and win the game for him, and they did what they had to do. A&M, man, they went up and down the field all day long. Marcel Reed, their quarterback, I think he handled the elements a little bit better than Carson Beck. He went 25 of 39 for 237 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 2 picks. The difference is as to why he has those 2 picks is he's just been inaccurate all year long. And he's been a very streaky type of passer. When he's on, he looks like he could be one of the better quarterbacks in all of college football. But when he's off, it doesn't look good. His accuracy issues are insanely bad. And I think that was the biggest issue. I think coming out of that game, if they would have just had normal quarterback, just mediocre quarterback play, the way they were moving that football up and down the field, Texas A&M would have won this game by multiple touchdowns. But unfortunately, they didn't. Marcel Reed was their only guy, and they just weren't able to get the job done in this game. And it came down to, even after Miami went up 10-3, late on in that fourth quarter, I think it was like 2 minutes left, A&M got the ball back, and they were able to march all the way down the goddamn field. And then it came down to it. They had a couple plays in the red zone to try to go and score, and guess how the game ends? It's Marcel Reed trying to throw the ball to one of their wide receivers on a corner route to the inside, and he throws it behind him, and it gives the opening for the Miami defender to come up and get the pick to end the game. That was the difference. And I just think that and again, I watched this game probably the most intently of all of the college football playoff games in that first round, because whoever wins this game goes and plays Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl in Arlington. So I was more than happy to sit here and watch this game and be like, hey, these teams do not look all that great. But I will say, like, I think Miami is a better matchup. Not necessarily a better matchup, but, like, I feel better about playing Miami than I do against Texas A&M. Because, first off, we'd have to play Texas A&M in Texas. So I do think that would turn into an away game very fast instead of, like, a neutral site game, like it would be against Miami. But also, I think Texas A&M offensively, I just think they have a little bit more consistency in a way that I just don't think Miami has. So the way I looked at this game, neither team looked all that great. Miami came out of it. I will say both these teams play hard. They hit very hard, but there was not a lot of offensive creativity. It was in the trenches. We're going to hit hard. We're going to run the football down your throat. And Miami came out on top on that, which I give them a lot of credit for. But it's just, I just don't see that game plan working against Ohio State. I just don't think that's going to be the case. Unless they're like, Miami's defense is so good, they're going to be able to hold Ohio State to like Indiana did. But I just don't, even in that game where Ohio State was held to very little points, I think it was more about Ohio State not doing what they had to do rather than Indiana really forcing it. So
I agree. I think Indiana was opportunistic.
They were, but
they didn't fuck up in spaces most teams would fuck up.
True.
And they forced enough to where they were just staying ahead, which is what I think their game plan was just stay on top.
Yeah.
We don't have to try to win this game. We just have to make sure they can't come back in this game.
But Ohio State had 2 opportunities in the red zone to go and score. All they had to do was score touchdowns, and Ohio State wins by multiple touchdowns. But they didn't. They didn't score those touchdowns, and they ended up going for a field goal on one of them just to tie the game, and they managed to miss that one. But, like, that was more than Ohio State than I think it was on Indiana, because I think Ohio State, after the first half where they were getting fooled a little bit by what Indiana was trying to do defensively, and their defensive line was really getting after Ohio State's offensive line, as soon as he got comfortable in the game, they really did start moving the football, and it is what it is. I just don't think, as much as I think Miami has more physical talent than what a place like Indiana does, but they're just not a better coached football team.
I don't think they're a better team. I think they're mid at best.
No, I'm saying talent-wise when it comes to players. Like, Miami is a top 5 talent roster in all of college football, but it's just their head coach is a fucking meathead. I don't look at him and say he's going to be he doesn't preach toughness. Like, he preaches toughness, not necessarily playing smart football. And that's throughout their whole team. They don't really have a great offense. Their defense is very like, hey, we're going to like just get after you. Our great players are going to do what they have to do. But there's not going to be a lot of trying to trickery or anything like that when it comes to X's and O's. And that's where I feel very good about it, because I think Ohio State can match the physicality of a place like Miami. And they can go and they have like a crazy mastermind in Ryan Day, and they have a mastermind on the defensive side of the football as well. So I'm just sitting there like, that's where I think the difference can be. And that's why coming out of this game, as much as I think Miami does have some real monsters, it's just if you can just manage those monsters, not let them take over, I think Ohio State is a much better football team, and I think that's going to be the way that goes. But this game between Miami and Texas A&M was definitely a slogfest, like you said. Put you to sleep type of game. I'm not going to lie to you, it really was. But again, it was more entertaining to watch than the last one we have to talk about. You have Ole Miss Tulane, the game that you said the group of 5 team had the best chance of actually pulling off the upset. Ole Miss wins the game 41-10. And then you have the other game, Oregon and James Madison. Oregon wins the game 51-34. And again, I will say James Madison did score 28 points in the second half. But this was after Oregon had already thrown in their second and third string guys. They literally were treating it like a non-con game at the start of the season. Like, hey, we got up our 38, 40 points in the first half. We're going to throw in our backup dudes and kind of let them get some playing time here in a playoff game. Absolutely insane. Again, it looked bad on paper seeing that James Madison had scored all those points in the second half. But when you really look at it, it really was Oregon kind of took their foot off the gas, let all their second and third string guys in, and James Madison was able to score a little bit to kind of make the game look closer. But the game wasn't close the way it kind of played out. So here's and then like I said, Ole Miss Tulane, they played each other earlier on this year. The game was 45-10 in that first matchup. Ended up being 41-10 in the playoff matchup. So
waste of fucking time.
How pissed do you think Notre Dame is right now? Because I looked at how both of those games played out, and I think Notre Dame can have a real case of saying, hey, we probably can beat, between those two games, we probably could beat all four of those teams that played in those games. Ole Miss and Tulane, or Oregon and James Madison.
Oregon probably beat the shit out of
Oregon to be the hardest one, but I think Notre Dame would have a real chance to beat Oregon.
I don't think so. Also, go cry about it. Pussy, join a conference.
I will
Fuck
say,
you.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Go join a conference, you fucking bitch.
That I do partially agree with. That
go
part
bitch
is
about
on
it.
you.
If you join a conference, win your conference, and then don't make it, cool. You're not in a conference. You played 3 ranked teams. Only beat one of them.
No, it was 2. They faced the two best games they played all year was the 2 games early against Miami and against Texas A&M, and they lost both games. Like I said before, all you have to do is win one of those games and you're in the playoff. Just win one of those games, you're in the playoff. And then if Texas wants to complain about all the shit too, don't lose to Florida. And you're in the playoff as well. So both of those teams really have not really, for me, as much as I want to make this case that the group of 5 teams don't deserve to be in because of how these kind of games played out, I will say that the teams that would be vying for those spots instead, they obviously ruined their own chances, and I'm not going to sit here and say that they got screwed over in this whole scenario, even if it does mean that the teams that got in over them probably didn't deserve to be in. That's where I wanted to get to. The year that Cincinnati made it, do you remember that year?
Yes.
Where Cincinnati, led by Luke Fickell.
In the last, it was a 4 team.
Yeah, so there was a lot of... No, it wasn't the last year of the 4 team.
No, it was a 4... I didn't say it was. Nigga.
Oh, okay. But it was a bunch of older guys playing at Cincinnati. A lot of them ended up being NFL dudes. Like there was a wide receiver that is still playing with the Colts now and doing some very good things. I think I'm forgetting his name. You have the Sauce Gardner, and you have some like the quarterback. Like there was a lot of dudes that were playing that they were older guys. They stayed at Cincinnati. They developed there, and they were like a talented enough football team, and they managed to make the run. And then guess what? They managed to be good enough to be in the top in the Final Four, and they made their way there. Did they get beat by the time they got there? Yeah, for sure. I think they faced Alabama in that first round. But there was no doubt in that scenario that they deserved to be in because they earned it on the football field. And they looked like a team that was worthy of a top 4 spot.
Yeah, I agree.
But when you look at what happened in this playoff, you have 2 teams that when they actually did the rankings, James Madison was ranked number 24 in the actual rankings for when they did from 1 to 24, not having to think about the playoff. And then you had Tulane that was a little bit higher. I think they're like 17 or something like that. But both of those teams, because of the rules and the way they have it done now, and the ACC fucking their own selves over by having 2 teams that weren't even playoff worthy making their conference championship game, the committee made this decision to be like, hey, we're gonna stand on what we were to say the rules are, and we're gonna bring in 2 of these group of 5 teams. Neither of these teams were good enough to make the playoff. Okay? And I'm not going to sit here and say they don't deserve to have an opportunity to play in it at all, because I just think that there are going to be years where these teams are kind of built up and they really do have a special season to where if they're good enough to be in that spot, let them have that opportunity.
Never be good enough to be in that spot. You said it before. I was like, maybe it'd be fun to watch these teams make it in. It's not. They're just going to keep getting shit on by teams who are bigger and better. So I just think it's a waste of time.
I just think there's times for special years. I cited that Cincinnati year because they were a group of 5 at the time. They have now joined the Big 12, so they were like kind of like on the teetering, right? And Boise State every once in a while is going to be up in that spot where they have an opportunity to make that type of run. But you know what's different is that a lot of teams, or at least of the group of 5 and stuff like that, are not going to be able to build that way anymore, because as soon as they're fucking good enough to go play on a Power 4 roster, guess what's going to happen? They're all going to be calling saying, hey, we want to bring you to such and such school and we'll give you such and such amount of money, and they'll hightail it out of there on the first train or the first plane to get to where they got to go get that cash. So like those teams do not have an opportunity to develop and really come together and be older players that are like more physically and mentally developed to be able to maybe, I'm not going to say totally bridge the gap, but at least mostly bridge the gap of being able to say, hey, you may be more talented than I am, but I can beat you by knowing the game better and being more physically developed to where it can just be a better football game in general. I just don't think those opportunities are going to be nearly as plentiful, because these players are going to be on the first time that they look like they can be a player of that talent to go play for a Power 5 school. They're going to take them in the portal. And I just think that, like you said, I think I was more on the keep them out altogether. But I think even you've come around to the idea is like, hey, they're just tomato cans in the first round of the playoff. I just don't think it doesn't make a good TV product. And I think at the end of the day, we all have to understand that this whole playoff, as much as we all want to have it in our brains that like, hey, this is about finding the 12 best teams. This is about finding a good television product that people can watch. And then hopefully you have the best team winning in the end. And the same thing with March Madness. As much as we all cite that, it's basketball, it's a different sport, but it is a very good TV product at the end of the day, even if it comes with a few upsets that can't happen. So I just think my main point is when I kind of talked with this is that I just think shoehorning in a rule where you have to bring in a group of 5 team doesn't make any sense. I think they should have an avenue to get in if they're good enough, if they look like a top 12 team. But if you're not good enough, I just don't think you should force their way in because you don't want to get sued. And I truly think that's what it is. I think that's the only reason that the playoff hasn't locked out the group of 5 teams altogether is because they're worried about getting sued over this whole thing and saying the group of 5 teams coming and saying, hey, it's like an antitrust violation when it comes to like just trying to lock out all those teams from having an opportunity. But if they just said fuck it and just are willing to get sued and just write the check, whatever the check ended up being to those schools, I think you could have a lot better whole playoff bracket when you have just the 12 best teams, rather than having like all of this politicking and shit like that to try to get some teams in that don't deserve to be in the first place. That's all I'm saying. I just say
I don't think you're wrong. What you were saying 2 years ago now makes a whole lot of sense. Watching the JMU game is a waste of fucking time. I tuned in for 2 minutes.
I didn't have to watch those games. I went into the day knowing I'm going to watch this first game with Miami and Texas A&M, and then I can scoreboard watch the rest of the day and be fine.
Yep.
I watch them. I watch clips on the back end to kind of make sure I at least get an idea of how those games went. But the games were fucking blowouts. Like I said, they look like beginning of the year games when you're paying the teams $1 million to come get their ass beat for a couple hours in your stadium. So it just sucks that was the way that some of those games had went. But it's just, hopefully they can figure out at some point to kind of get some just.
Make a better way to do this. If a team is ranked in the top 12, put them in.
If they're a group of 5 team, they're good enough. Let them get in. But I just don't think we should just shoehorn them in because of a rule because you're worried about getting sued. It doesn't lead. Just make this fucking simpler and just say, hey, the 12 best teams get into the playoff and let them duke it out. And I think more often than not, I think it'll work out the way it needs to. So I don't know. It was a weird football weekend because half the games really didn't fucking matter. But I think there was a couple decent games to kind of come out of. So I'm glad we got to talk about those. And the other ones you just get to say, it is what it is. So from there, and we're not going to get too much into like the previews of the games. I just want to say what the round of 8 is going to be, the quarterfinals. So you got on New Year's Eve, you have Ohio State and Miami playing each other in the Cotton Bowl. That is in Arlington. On New Year's Day, you have, I think it's 3 games going on. Oh, yeah, the other 3 going on. So you have at noon, you have Oregon and Texas Tech playing each other in the Orange Bowl. And then at 4 o'clock, you have Alabama and Indiana playing each other for the Rose Bowl. And then you have Ole Miss and Georgia playing each other in the Sugar Bowl. So as we get closer to that, I think next week we'll talk about those games and how we think those games are going to go. But I figured at least kind of mention them out there and see what those matchups are going to be. And we'll definitely get more into them next week when we want to preview those games. So this is the only other college football thing I wanted to talk about, because I wanted to wait on you to get your thought process on this. Not thought process, just initial thoughts. Mm-hmm. The portal opens up in a few weeks. Would you like to hear the quarterbacks that are all going to be in the portal?
Not really.
And these are all just quarterbacks. They're not necessarily in yet because you can't. Actually, you can.
How do you look that up?
I just looked them up on 247 Sports, and I just go to the transfer portal, and it's really the quarterbacks. Those like the biggest names as of right now. But these are quarterbacks that have intentions to go into the portal. Brennan Sorsby, who was the quarterback at Cincinnati, who was very good. Again, he's not the biggest name out there, but if you've watched a lot of college football, he is definitely a really good quarterback out there. DJ Lagway, the Florida quarterback, in the portal. Dylan Raiola, the Nebraska quarterback, is also in the portal.
Yeah.
Byron Brown, who's from USF, but he is a very talented quarterback that's going to be out there, and he's going to be in the portal. Rocco Beck, the quarterback from Iowa State.
They have Aiden Childs at a 4-star?
Yeah.
The fuck?
Childs is in. Bo Perbula, the Mizzou starting quarterback. He is back in the portal after he had just literally only been there for a year because he was at Penn State the year before, and he left Penn State during the playoff run to go to Missouri. So, you have some real big-name quarterbacks going. I will say I will give Rocco Beck, the Iowa State guy, a little bit of credit. I think he's just following his head coach over to Penn State.
I agree.
So I think that one's a pretty easy, done deal.
Aiden Child.
But
Nick
you have
Marsh.
some real quarterbacks, all transferring to go somewhere else. Again, some for good reason because coaches are leaving and all that. But Dylan Raiola, the quarterback in Nebraska, they gave him 2 years worth of starting, and apparently he doesn't like how it's going, and he's going to decide to transfer and go pick up a big bag and to maybe help his own quarterback stock because, let's be honest, he's been ass for 2 years.
Dude, we have so many players
Fucking leaving. Nick Marsh.
Nick Marsh is going to be in the transfer portal.
Almost a 5-star.
Yeah.
Leaving the school.
Yeah.
He is going to be a dog wherever he goes.
And this is not including all the teams that are still in the
I
playoff.
think
Any players
10.
that are...
He's the number 10 dude in the transfer. Just in case you're wondering.
And then all these, like I was about to say, all these...
Damn, that fucking sucks.
All these players that are still in the playoff, they're going to end up being in the portal too at some point. They're just still on a playoff run, so they're hoping that their seasons can keep extending. But there's going to be players from those teams that are going to be in the portal as well.
I'm actually very surprised that the quarterback from Michigan is not leaving.
I think he's waiting on whatever their whole thing is going to be because they haven't hired a head coach yet. They're potentially going to just keep an interim coach and only keep him for a year. But here's the thing: it's just like if you're going to do that, you have to give. I don't know.
Chaz Coleman from Penn State's leaving.
Apparently, he's from Ohio. Everybody's like Ohio State's been looking at him since day one, and there was like a clip of him leaving the field at Ohio State, and one of the Ohio State just like field staffers had a long conversation. Everybody is sitting there talking about, oh, that was a guy. He's a messenger from Ohio State telling him, hey, dude, once this all goes to shit, we're gonna give you a nice big bag. Come back home. It's a whole conspiracy, but I do think he's probably going to end up back at Ohio State as long as Ohio State's willing to pay to bring him back. Because I think we're going to be losing a couple defensive ends to the draft. So it is what it is on that. But I just think here's my thing. What do you think your perfect scenario is for these players in the portal? Are you okay with everything going how it is, where all these players can go all willy-nilly? Would you be in favor of like how European soccer does it, where there's like a transfer fee? If you want to bring that player over from somebody else, you have to pay that team money. Or in the same way, if it's like breaking a contract for a coach, like, hey, there's a buyout where if a coach wants to leave early, they have the team can force either the coach or the new team to pay the buyout to get them to break the contract. Are you in favor of that?
Two things. I think I don't hate the buyout fee, but that does make it hard sometimes for certain schools to want to have to be able to pay this player and pay the school.
Mm-hmm.
I think there should be like the player should have.
But I think that saves the smaller schools. I think.
I agree.
Because if you're gonna lose this player that you've put a lot of money into and you made them grow,
I agree, but I think it also
bigger
hurts
school comes in,
on
they have to
teams
pay.
that do really well in the transfer portal.
Yeah, it does.
Like Michigan State. Now, we're going to be even worse. Now we can't get any transfers because now we have to pay them. I think it should be a
misnomer. I think Michigan State has money. I'm not saying they have Ohio State and Michigan money.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
but y'all have money to pay.
Again, but we've run into an SEC school who automatically just has more fucking money than we do. We're fucked.
Yeah.
I think players should have to stay at each school for at least 2 years while playing. If a player goes 2 years without ever playing, they should be allowed to leave. I think each player should have to stay at each school for 2 years.
I like the buyout option because
the buyout option is fucking stupid.
Because forcing a player to stay at your school for a certain amount of time allows these coaches a way to lie to them.
I think it's stupid.
I think the portal in the good category for what the portal has brought, it has forced these teams to not just lie to these kids and say, hey, you're the best ever, and you come in, you don't play for 3 years. And the coach gets to lie to you and say, hey, we thought you were going to be a guy, but they never actually thought you were going to be a starter at whatever school it is, when Georgia was having 5 stars on top of 5 stars on top of 5 stars. And most of them you don't even see for multiple years until the guy in the 5-star in front of them leaves, right? I think it forces teams to be more honest. And I think it does even out the playing field a lot, but I just think for me, the way I look at it is I think the buyout option is very good because it helps out the smaller schools, at least if you're going to be losing these kids that you're giving money to and all of that, and they're going to keep taking your money. Because again, these players aren't going to be excited to give back whatever money that you gave them once they decide to go in the portal. But at least if you get a fee for it and you at least get a decent amount of money, you can at least put that back into your program to either go give to a different player that you want to get in the portal, or maybe give to the players that you have still on your roster. And then I also heard about a different thing, right? A different rule that I thought was kind of cool. I think it was Josh Pate the credit that he was kind of talking about it, is that if because of how eventually how the money is that if you get to a point where if you make if you do collective bargaining and make the players actually have to sign real contracts, the contracts would be with the Big Ten and not necessarily with the schools. And that if you give them an incentive by saying, hey, This is the money you're going to get automatically from the Big Ten once you decide to go to one of these schools. And then the longer that you stay, the more money you're going to get from the Big Ten on top of whatever you're getting in NIL. So if you're a Jeremiah Smith, you're going to get a certain amount of money from Ohio State right away, no questions asked. But then if you turn out to be the big player that you are, you can still get money on the side in NIL deals, endorsement deals, and stuff like that. But every year that you stay, the longer you stay at a school, the more money you're going to get automatically, no matter who you are. So it just promotes a little bit of loyalty in a way where, hey, if I go and transfer now, I better be very certain about this, because not only will there potentially be a buyout that either I have to pay or the school that's getting me will have to pay, but it'll also reset me to where I won't be able to get the pay bump that I would get if I would become a second or third year player at this same school that I decided to go to in the first place. I then will lose out on that pay bump that I would automatically get no matter if I'm a star or not. I just think that if you just kind of like add those two things in there, I think it would just promote a lot of players not making just the one decision to make a bigger bag somewhere else, because I do think you'd be losing a little bit. But I just think you just have to give a little bit of give them a chance to think about it. It's like, hey, if I could just stick it out a little bit longer here, maybe I can it'll make me a better player, or it'll just make it to where I'm not going to sit here just being a 4-year college player going to a different school practically every year. I just feel like you just need to get rid of that a little bit, because I just think that one of the things that makes college sports so crazy, so good, is that you as a fan can get attached to these players because they're at your school. Not only are you following them when they're getting recruited as high schoolers to your school, but then you get to kind of see them grow as they're becoming a freshman and they're sitting on the bench to where they're becoming sophomores, getting playing time or becoming starters. And you get to see them for 2 or 3 years play at your school and really grow and develop, not only as a player, but as a human. And I do think that kind of lends itself into what maybe you can get out of college sports in a way that you don't get out of the NFL, because the NFL is a lot more transactional. And again, you do get a chance to be attached to the superstar players that get to stay at one team for most of their careers. Those are the players you kind of can attach yourself to, the Joe Burrows, the Mahomeses, and all that. But I just think that in college, I think you have a lot more of that. And I think if you can get that, used to be a bigger deal. But if you can get a little of that back into the sport, I think it'll just make the sport a lot better from start to finish. I know Jason don't really care because his team just hasn't been that good, but I just think that once Michigan State figures it out, I think that some of these things I'm talking about would help you as well, even if it's not going to lead to you, being in the national title hunt every year like it does for some schools. But that's all I got. That's all the college football I wanted to talk about today. Let's go ahead and get to the NFL, because there's plenty to talk about there. Let's get to it. So, when it comes to what our records were for last week, Jace destroyed me once again.
Yes, sir. You're trash.
When it came to our picks,
call some good games. Maybe you'll win some fucking bets.
I went 9-7. Jace went 11-5. Again, I think next year we should do it with the spread, not just straight up.
I'm not doing that shit.
It makes it harder on both of us.
It is pretty fucking easy for Jace.
Yeah, because I got behind, and then I keep wanting to take chances in a way, and then the chances never work for me. It has, again, been a bad year for your boy.
How you lose money. So we're going to go to casino, you're going to be broke.
Yeah, maybe. I went 9-7. Jace went 11-5. Overall, I am 138-87-1. Jace is 146-29-1. So Jace is about 8 games ahead of me as of right now.
Yes, sir.
And that's how that goes. So let's go ahead and get to the recap of those NFL games and go from there. So let me get to the scores here, and we'll start from the top. So we'll start with the Saturday games. Go with those games there. So Saturday, Eagles-Commanders was the first game. Eagles won the game 29-18. This game was pretty much a rout. Hurts had a great game. I think when I talked about on the pod last week, I said that because of how bad the Washington defense is that this is a game where the offense for the Eagles can kind of get back together. They can sit there and feed all their dudes. Everybody can eat. Everybody can kind of get into it, and they can kind of come out of here with a win and kind of at least have some good vibes. Again, does beating Washington mean anything for your team, really give you any confidence? Probably not. But I think with the way this Eagles team has looked throughout the year, it has never been about talent. It has been all about the vibes of their team being off, with players not being happy, with some players wanting the offense to be better, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and not necessarily being as cool with Jalen Hurts because of how the offense has been. But in this game, it didn't really matter. Jalen Hurts, 22 of 30, 185, 2 touchdowns. Saquon Barkley, he got to eat against Washington. 21 carries, 132 yards, and a touchdown. A.J. Brown, 9 catches, 95 yards. Devontae Smith, 6 catches, 42 yards, and a touchdown. Dallas Goedert, 3 catches, 32 yards, and a touchdown. So, like, all of their big players offensively got to eat. And then defensively for the Eagles, they were facing off against a Marcus Mariota-led Washington team that didn't even play all that long because he ended up getting hurt with a head injury and didn't manage to, I think it was a head injury or wrist or something like that. He didn't even come back. Marcus Mariota, 7 of 14 for 95 yards, didn't really do anything before he had to leave the game. And then his backup was Josh Johnson once Marcus went out. And
he's still in the NFL.
Yeah. 5 of 9 for 43 yards and a pick. So Washington didn't do practically anything in this game, especially once Marcus Mariota had left the game. They did score a little bit in the second half. I think in the fourth quarter they scored 8 points to make the game look a little bit closer, but this game was a rout from start to finish. Chris Rodriguez Jr., the running back for Washington, played fine, 15 carries, 63 yards and a touchdown. Krosky Merritt, the other running back for them, also had a touchdown. But again, like I said, this was just a tune-up game for the Eagles where as long as they took care of business, they were able to win that game without much of an issue. Next game, the other game on Saturday. Very good game. Bears-Packers. Bears win the game 22-16, ending it off with a bomb from Caleb Williams to DJ Moore in overtime. I think it was like a 46-yard touchdown that he threw. It was a total bomb down the field to win that game. But this game, for the most part, was dominated by Green Bay. So early on in the game, Green Bay was the only. Honestly, neither team was really doing a lot offensively, but Green Bay was doing a tad bit better. Jordan Love didn't even play. I think he left by halftime because he had a concussion. Yeah. He was 8 of 13 at the time for 77 yards. But I will say, Malik Willis, his backup, came in and I think played even better than what Jordan Love was playing before he had gotten hurt. Malik Willis, 9 of 11, 121 yards and a touchdown. And then Malik Willis also added another 44 yards on the ground off 10 carries. So, he adds a little bit of an element with his running ability that I think Jordan Love doesn't even have. But, for the most part, the Packers were leading this game. In the first quarter, nobody scored. But, the Packers scored 6 points in the second quarter, 7 in the third. And then in the fourth, I think they had a 16-point lead. 13-point lead. And then they let Chicago score 13 points in the fourth quarter to come back and tie the game. And with how the tie even happens, they managed to get a onside kick converted. Because I think it was... Hold on, let me make sure I have this right here when I say it. So in the fourth quarter, it was... The Bears had hit a field goal to make the game 16-9. And then they went for an onside kick that was touched by Green Bay. Totally touched, and then it ended up being a fumble. And then Chicago was able to jump on it because that was a gift totally given to them by Green Bay. But after that, Chicago still had to go down the field and still goes down the field and score another 8 points in order to get the game. Another touchdown to get the game tied up with Green Bay. And then in overtime, man, Chicago managed to come back. And I will say that the way this game was going, it was all dominated by the Packers. They managed to do what they had to do. And Chicago, for all the shit that I've given about Caleb Williams not being all that great and being inconsistent, he played fine in this game.
You picked Green Bay.
You picked Chicago, so I'm like, I have to catch up. So I had to pick Green Bay. I think if Jordan Love played the whole game, I think they would have won that game. I don't think it was an awful split for me to take, Caleb, 19 of 34, 250 yards. He's still inaccurate at times, but when he hits...
You picked the Rams?
Yeah. You picked Seattle. I had to do something. I'm trying to catch up. That seemed like a good spot to have a split. I hate you. I hate you. Caleb, inaccurate, but when he made the big plays, he was able to do so. He was able to extend plays with his feet when he was able to. He made the big passes when he needed to. DJ Moore and him are definitely getting a rapport together where they're really making a lot of big plays together. And this is without them even having some of the big, like they were missing who was the one wide receiver that they drafted?
Roma Dunze.
Roma Dunze. He wasn't able to play in this game. And they were also missing another wide receiver as well. So, like, they were missing some of their weapons. They still managed, even though the game was shit for most of it. Chicago was given an opportunity to come back in the game, and they did. They played great. Caleb played great, especially when they needed the biggest pass. He went out there and made it in overtime to go ahead and win the game. And some Chicago fans are talking about how this is like the best win that they have seen in like 20 years. So like this is a team that has dealt with a lot of downs. That kind of like the Browns of the NFC.
Yeah, but it's not.
No quarterback play. Not good quarterback play for most.
Have you watched the Bears go 0-16?
Ooh, no, I haven't.
Have you watched them go 0-16 twice?
No.
And then be dumb and be like, I want to draft Johnny Manziel. They've never done that.
They did draft Jay Cutler, though.
And real quick, Jay Cutler had a golden arm.
Yeah, but
You know what Jay Cutler did in the
do
NFL?
shit with it.
Jay Cutler made Pro Bowls.
And he had a long-standing NFL career. Didn't do a lot of winning, but he did have a good career.
But that boy could sling the football.
For sure. I agree.
He had a golden arm. He probably had one of the best arms you will ever see.
And that's what annoyed the Bears fans the most, is that he was
What
so
the- what
good.
are you
What the fuck-
doing?
what are you doing? Yeah, for sure.
No, but again, the Bears have always made good decisions that just don't always work out.
Right.
The Browns make bad decisions knowing it's a bad decision, and then are surprised it don't work out.
So the Bears were a good organization with some bad luck. Browns are just terrible.
Yeah, it's a difference.
I can get behind that.
I will give the Bears the credit of you're trying, and then it's like a 50-50, it works out.
Right, yeah.
The Browns are not trying. My bad. They're trying, actively making bad decisions,
Yeah.
and then are surprised it didn't work out.
Yeah, no doubt.
And it's like, everybody told you not to do that. Why did you give Deshaun Watson money? Everyone said don't do that.
Totally guaranteed money, too. Crazy.
And it fucked you. So now, Shador's dog shit. Dog shit. He is dog shit. He is dog shit.
It's not great.
No.
It's not dog shit. Maybe a little.
He had 3 picks.
That was the week before, but last week, this past game against the Bills, he didn't play bad.
Okay, hold on. I watched Cam Newton's podcast. I don't always like watching his podcast because it's like he's just chatting shit sometimes. But he broke down Shador's picks. He was like, one of them was Jerry Jeudy's fault. It was.
I can believe that. Jerry Jeudy is like not necessarily the most famous of players because he does some stupid shit.
He hit Jerry Jeudy on the numbers.
Yeah.
He did. And the DB just went back that way.
Yeah.
One was like tip pass. Those happen. Okay, you were kind of focused on one receiver, and they just, boop, D lineman just jumped up.
Yeah.
Okay, I can let that one slide.
Sure.
One, you underthrew a football. That was your fault. One was a rookie mistake.
Right.
The other two one was Jerry Jeudy's fault.
Right.
The other one was you were kind of zoned in on one guy a little too hard,
Yeah.
and they just kind of caught you.
True.
But again, they weren't. One was bad. The other two weren't your fault. Tip passes happen.
Yeah.
They happen to everybody. Happens to Joe Pro 3 times in a game too. So But I don't think he's dog shit. But I think he will never be better than an okay starter.
Yeah.
He's not a guy you have to actively think about replacing, but a guy that if you were to get a better opportunity, you'd go.
Potentially have a chance at a top 5 pick to get a quarterback.
You'd go for it.
Yeah.
But you know what Shador would be great in? He'd be a great Niners quarterback.
Yeah, for sure.
He'd be a fire Niners quarterback. No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't listen to Shanahan at all.
Yeah, he has a little too much personality.
My bad.
A little too much personality.
He would not be because he
wouldn't
listen to Kyle Shanahan enough.
He did the watch thing too many times. And Kyle Shanahan be ready to rip his head off.
Go sit down. I'll get Mac to do it. It's so frustrating. Brock Purdy, did he make the Pro Bowl? I don't personally care, so don't look. Don't look.
Okay.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm not going to watch it.
He missed many games. He definitely did not.
I'm not going to watch it.
He missed like 8 games with turf toe.
I don't know. Again, I'm not going to watch the Pro Bowl. I don't give a fuck.
I don't care. I'll watch the clips of like the little like challenges they do. Other than that,
I'm not going to actually watch it. That is not coming on my TV.
Again, it's fun to watch in clips because it's just flag football out there guys, crazy athletes and good quarterbacks making
No,
great
fuck
plays.
that. Bring me back to 2012 where I watched Sean Taylor almost kill a punter.
No, for sure.
Bump that.
I agree.
I miss that of he came downfield with a vengeance for no reason. God, that was great. That was football. Of this means nothing. You do not. If you win this game, it does nothing for you.
You know what's crazy? When Sean Taylor did that, people were looking at him and be like, "Hey, dude, that might have been a little too far," because I think it was more than players were in on the hey, we're not trying to get hurt out here. We're trying to
fuck that.
And he went out there and did something crazy, and everybody's like, "What are you
Smacked
doing?"
his ass.
Yeah, no doubt,
dude.
But we're never going back there.
That's
not what happened.
I wish I could just see a receiver come over the middle and Ryan Clark go kill his ass.
Yeah.
I fucking love that. That shit was great.
That's not happening in the regular games anymore, let alone
it's never
in the
happening
Pro
again.
Bowl. Definitely not in the Pro Bowl.
Ain't he the reason for the defenseless receiver rule?
No.
I believe he is.
We can talk about the Steelers' defense of that time being the reason for the rule, but I don't think you can really put it on any specific player at all. While you're looking up whatever you're looking up, I just want to cap off the Caleb Williams part.
Nope, it was him. The rule was enforced because of him.
Okay.
The NFL felt like he unfairly targeted defenseless receivers over the middle of the field. Okay. Verbatim, that is what is being told to me.
Okay. Here's what it is.
That and this nigga was causing CTE. He always led with the crown of his helmet. But in a part of my heart, that was football.
Mm-hmm.
Watching somebody come over the middle, especially Wes Welker.
Yeah.
They were throwing him to the wolves. Every team threw him to the wolves. Hey man, catch this. Oh, it was always over the middle. And one of those balls, it was always such a pretty ball too. It was always a great thrown football.
See, that's where the difference is I think Tom Brady, even though I hate watching him call games, it's insanely bad. I will give him this credit. He has always been a proponent of we are putting too much of the blame in the hands of the defenders when you also have to put blame on the quarterback because they're throwing hospital balls.
Yeah.
Your boy Bo Nix,
That boy throws hospital balls.
he threw a hospital ball to their rookie wide receiver and got the dude sent to the hospital. He threw a terrible hospital ball that got him literally knocked out right away. They had to put him on a stretcher and get him to the hospital.
Where receivers don't go to get that ball, and I'm like, I don't blame you. Mm-hmm. You know who was really bad at throwing hospital balls? Peyton fucking Manning.
Peyton Manning was better at the latter part of his career by not doing that, for sure.
He got Wes Welker murdered in preseason. You've seen that hit.
Wes Welker got yes.
No, long ball down the sideline. Guess who was fucking against? The Steelers. Bro throws a long ball down the sideline. Wes Welker goes for it. Lays out like this. Smacked out for the season. That was the last game he played in his career. Because Peyton Manning got that motherfucker killed.
Wes Welker played well after that. The Colts wasn't the last team he played for.
No, that was the Broncos. He got him killed on the Broncos.
Oh, that was in the playoffs. That wasn't in the preseason. That was in the playoffs. I'm pretty sure that was the case. It was in the playoffs that Wes Welker had played his last game with the Broncos. And it was a very competitive time. They're trying to make a play. He ends up getting hurt, all of that. But I just don't put that on Peyton Manning that he threw hospital balls on time. He really didn't. I think he was very smart about placing the ball in the right spot to help his wide receivers out. And my point was with Brady, too. I just think that
there's a 17-minute video of him throwing hospital balls. Are you sure?
He also played in a different NFL.
17 minutes.
They were allowed to hit players more.
17 minutes. That's a lot of passes. Joe, 17 minutes is not a short video. That's a long-form video. 17 minutes.
I'm aware.
Bro, the first one's Peyton Manning. The first comment is Peyton Manning special. Joe, you're wrong. You're avidly wrong. You're like, here, yeah, it's Peyton Manning. And dead man. Hold on. My captions are on.
Go ahead.
Oh, that's a whole different video. That was Trubisky.
Yeah.
That doesn't count. Look at him. Whoop.
That's not a hospital ball.
Okay.
That's not a hospital ball.
No, that was the defender. You right.
That's on the defender. That's not a hospital ball.
Oh, look, Peyton Manning again. Over the middle of the field. Dead man.
Go ahead. Show me.
Okay.
Yeah, that definitely was not a hospital ball.
Dead man.
Not a hospital ball. That's on the defender.
You are leading him into a fucking defender.
He was him playing it with the Broncos. That is during a time where wide receivers have that protection. Where you cannot
Colts.
do that.
That's the Colts.
That was the Broncos. He had a Broncos jersey on when that play happened right there.
That's the Broncos jersey? That's a Colts jersey, dumbass. Oh, that's a dead man.
A hospital ball is throwing one right in the middle of the gosh darn field, not going past the sticks, not outside the numbers. It is in the middle of the field where the linebackers usually are sitting. When you're sitting, you're like, hey, this is a guy, I'm throwing a short route.
I found it.
I'm throwing a short route to this guy, and he's about to get destroyed.
Yeah. Not that one. This one. Okay. This is a whole different one.
That's not even a hospital ball.
Nah, I just probably shouldn't have thrown that. That's the Steelers.
That's Tebow. That's a lefty, my boy.
Oh, my bad. That's James Harrison.
Yes.
That hit was unnecessary. Flacco was bad at the hospital ball. But still, bro, Peyton Manning threw found it. I fucking found it. Not this one.
That's it. It's not Peyton. Not a hospital ball.
Nope. This one is.
Not a hospital ball. That's not a hospital
You
ball.
were leading your receiver into a fucking defender. It's a fucking hospital ball.
When you're throwing it outside the sticks, outside the numbers, down the sideline, that is not a hospital ball because the wide receiver has protection to where a safety cannot do that. That's why it's not a hospital ball. A hospital ball is doing it right.
A poorly thrown pass that puts the receiver in a dangerous position to take a massive hit. That's a hospital ball is what he just did.
That was not a hospital
ball.
ball.
That receiver had to go out there to go get that ball. He just thought it was a poorly thrown ball that put the receiver in a defenseless position to take a massive hit. Hospital ball.
That's not that was.
Okay.
We're just have to agree to disagree. That's not a hospital ball.
No, there's no agree to disagree. By definition, you're fucking wrong. You're fucking wrong. You're fucking wrong. There's no agree to disagree. You're fucking wrong. How do we agree to disagree if you are blatantly wrong?
Because when you look at
because what? You're wrong?
No.
By definition, you're wrong.
Okay, but
So
we all know
by
what one looks
definition,
like
you're
if you
wrong.
wouldn't see it, and that was not a hospital ball.
It was a poorly thrown ball that made his receiver defenseless.
When the ball is thrown outside the numbers down the sideline, a wide receiver has protection to where they should be able to catch a football without getting destroyed.
Unless the ball is poorly thrown. So it makes it a fucking hospital ball. That's the definition. A poorly thrown ball that makes the receiver defenseless. The ball was overthrown, making him defenseless. It's an overthrown ball. Bad timing and bad positioning is what makes it a hospital ball.
That was a go ball down the field. There is no such thing as that.
A go ball is where the ball hits him in stride. He goes.
Yeah, but
that ball was not going to hit him in stride because it was overthrown.
But there's variation
which is what makes it a hospital ball. That variation, what fucking variation? He was laying out to go get that ball.
Yes.
So it was an overthrown ball, and it makes it a hospital ball. Whatever the fuck you're about to say is wrong. Everything that I just looked up is telling you you're fucking wrong. What are you about to say to me that's going to change the fact you're wrong?
I'm not wrong.
Oh, so the definition's wrong then, right?
The
ball was
the
overthrown,
moment you're talking
placed him
about
in a bad position.
That is on the sideline up. A hospital ball is where you have an opportunity to make a different throw that helps your wide receiver out when the wide receiver is going across the field in the middle of the field.
A poorly thrown pass that puts the receiver in a dangerous position to take a massive hit, often unavoidable hit from a defender, leading to seriously injury, hence hospital ball. It is characterized by bad ball placement, timing, or trajectory, giving the receiver no chance
Yes.
to brace or evade the hit, unlike a well-placed pass that allows
That
them to
happens in the middle of the
protect
field.
themselves.
That happens in the middle of the
No.
field, not on a go ball down the sideline.
Is that in the middle of the fucking field? No.
That's
It's on-
that's down the sideline.
and it still left him defenseless. It left him defenseless, which means it's a fucking hospital
they
ball.
ha- they-
If he can't defend himself, by definition, it's a fucking hospital ball. What are you talking about? How are you? You are avidly wrong. The definition says you're wrong. Everything in the video says you're wrong. What the fuck are you talking about?
I know what I'm talking about.
You're clearly not. You're wrong.
Okay.
Is the definition not saying you're wrong?
That definition is very vague, and it
That
doesn't
definition
actually.
is not vague. Here, we can
It
go into
is
detail.
vague.
I can pull up the fucking notes it brings at the bottom. Key characteristics: bad placement, throwing to a spot where the
Yes.
defender is waiting, forcing the receiver to catch it right as they hit, like happened in the video.
In the middle of the
Poor
field.
Poor timing, delivering late, making the receiver twist awkwardly to reach for the
In
ball,
the middle of the
leaving them
field.
vulnerable. It does not have to be in the middle of the field to be a fucking hospital ball.
The middle of it's considered in the middle of the field because you have a
It does
defender
not have to be in the middle of the field
waiting-
to be considered a hospital ball. Why the fuck would that be a thing?
because you don't have the same protection in the middle of in the pass in the middle of the field you do on the
He
sideline.
clearly had no protection on the fucking sideline. He got blown up by the fucking safety.
Because that's off of the safety making a safety is not allowed to make a hit like that on the sideline like that in the same way you are in the middle of the field.
What the fuck are you talking about? They would do it all the time. You watch your team do it all the fucking time.
That is
How are you fucking wrong?
that is a different time of the NFL.
You are saying this, dude. You are saying you are right while everything is telling you you're wrong. I have read the whole fucking definition that tells you you're wrong, and you're still saying you're right. When by definition, you're fucking wrong. You are fucking wrong. By definition, doesn't say it has to be in the middle of the field. You're wrong. You're wrong. You are wrong. Everything is saying you're wrong. It doesn't say it has to be in the middle of the field. You're wrong. You're wrong. Like I don't know what else to tell you. It gives you all the key characteristics, the essence. It gives you everything. You're wrong. How are you saying you're right when it's telling me you're wrong? I've read it out loud. It's saying you're wrong. Unless I can no longer read, it's telling me you are wrong. Are you going to now argue with the definition?
I don't want to argue at all. I just want to get to the rest of the games we have to talk about.
I'll go.
I wasn't that pressed about this whole thing. I wasn't impressed about as pressed about it as you are to try to prove somebody wrong or not.
I don't have to prove you wrong. You're wrong. You're saying you're right about something, even though it's telling that you saw it. You're saying you're wrong. It's saying you're wrong. Everything about it's saying you're wrong. So how are you right? How are you going to tell me you're right when it's telling me you're wrong?
I don't even want to go down because we're just going to go back in the same circle again.
There's no circle to go in. You're wrong. If it's saying you're wrong, how are you trying to argue your point when your point is wrong? I've proven it to be wrong. I have skipped all the other bullshit, looked it up. It's saying you're wrong. But you're still trying to prove a point even though it's already shown that you were wrong.
Because some of those plays you were talking about are ones where wide receivers have the protection of not getting hit like that.
If they are defenseless down the sideline because they're trying to catch the ball, they're still defenseless down the sideline.
No, it's a go ball. Okay, it's a go ball down the sideline where both players have to have.
Yeah. So did the receiver still get
Like
hit
I
'cause
said,
he's defenseless?
I didn't want to go down this road because we're just gonna go to that in a circle.
What you're saying is still fucking wrong.
No, because
It's
if
a
you're
goal
throwing,
ball that
if
was
you're
overthrown.
throwing a ball in the if you're throwing, I'm talking about a hospital ball. You are throwing a ball, overthrowing a guy, making him extend his body, and then you have somebody in the middle, a linebacker or a safety, coming in to try to break the ball up without giving that wide receiver a chance to be able to protect himself. Because that is you're considering a bang play where if you have the right timing or if you have the right placement, that wide receiver has a chance to not get hit like that. On a go ball down the sideline, the timing and placement aren't, because you're throwing it 50 yards down the field or 40 yards down the field. And wide receivers have the protection that they don't have in the middle of the field.
He did not have it does not matter if the ball is poorly thrown and the timing is wrong to where he has to speed up or slow down and go get the go ball. It leaves him then defenseless, which makes it a hospital ball for him to take a hit. With
what I'm talking about, with the rules of the more modern game, not the Steelers. What you're talking about, where they were allowed to do whatever they wanted.
Fucking defenseless. That shit still happens.
But they, like what I'm saying, they have the protection because they're not. They literally is against the rules where safeties are taught you cannot hit players like that, where you get automatic ejections or you get 15 yards, like all those things you instantly get thrown out of the game for.
Don't say you're still fucking right. It's your. I'm done.
Okay. I can go through the rest of the game by myself if you're really that upset about it. That's why I said I didn't want to go back through it, because we're just going to go in the same circle.
Dude, you're fucking wrong. By definition, you are wrong. If the ball's poorly placed, no matter where it is on the field, it can become a hospital ball. Because now the receiver has to do something different to try to catch the ball than what was intended by the play. You remember the Florida-Oklahoma play? The Miami-Oklahoma play where the safety, instead of going to get the ball, hits the receiver.
Miami and Texas A&M?
No. Yeah, whatever.
No, I don't remember any play in particular, no. I don't.
There's one play during one of their bowl games where the receiver, I think it was Sam fucking Bradford or some shit. I don't know.
Oh, you're talking about a long time ago. Oh, yes, I definitely don't remember that.
Thrown. It was not a hospital ball. The ball was on the dot. The safety decided to hit him instead. That's not a hospital ball. The ball that was thrown, that was shown in that video, was overthrown outside of his range where he had to speed up and basically dive to go get it.
Yeah, but that
it becomes a hospital
that
ball.
Safety is not allowed. If that safety goes beyond what the rules are to hit a player like that, that is not a hospital ball because the safety went well beyond the rules of the game.
Know why in that game that safety was not ejected? Do you know why? Because how he hit him, he didn't lead with the crown of his helmet. He hit him with the shoulder. He wasn't ejected. That's still a fully legal hit. That was from a couple years ago. That's not from
that was a Peyton Manning play. What are you talking about? Peyton Manning with the Colts?
No, the Broncos.
Even with the Broncos, that was back in 2018, 2019.
2016.
2016, that's even like
those rules have been in place since fucking before that.
No, there's been more and more protections as the league is literally a yearly thing. How players can't get a rip because everything's pass interference is called, and players are given so much protections now because everybody says the league's gotten softer.
The definition is telling you you're wrong.
Look, I want to get past this. I want to go to the rest of the games. Bills-Browns. Bills win 23-20. You were talking about Sanders. In this game, wasn't that bad. 20 of 29, 157 and a touchdown. Shedeur Sanders was also the leading rusher. They did lose Quinshon Judkins in this game. He managed to tear. It was like a very gruesome injury. Tear his ACL and broke his ankle all in one play. Very bad. He ended up getting surgery. Hopefully he'll be back sooner rather than later in the next year or so. Honestly, this is a game where the Browns should not have been in this game at all, but the Bills just did not bring their A game. Josh Allen, 12 of 19, 130 yards. James Cook was the superstar for them in this game. 16 carries, 117 yards, 2 touchdowns. Ty Johnson also had a rushing touchdown in this game. It was just, it just felt like the defense that the Bills were playing, they were not trying to push it. They were going to inch their way down the field the way they needed to, run the football effectively. Josh Allen did get nicked up in this game, had a little bit of an injury thing, but he managed to get out of it without much of an issue. And then also in this game, I wanted to talk about injury. Talk about Shador not being all that bad. He did throw the 157, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. So the picks were not necessarily all that great, but I think all in all, I think the Browns showed out, and I think they actually played a decent game. They were at home though, so I do have to give them that credit there that the Browns were able to at least play a competitive football game, even if it meant the Bills weren't necessarily playing as great as they probably could have in that game. Myles Garrett also is, I think he's like a sack away from breaking the sack record. So he is more like definitely assuredly going to break that record in the next couple games that he plays. He does play the Steelers this upcoming Sunday. So it's just going to be so fitting that the fan base and the fan base that gives him so much crap over the years, not just the crap, because I think he puts that little bit of that on himself with how he has talked at times, but the fan base that hates him more than anybody, and they compare him to their own guys, TJ Watt, me being part of the fan base, of course. It's only going to be fitting that he breaks the record that TJ Watt tied a few years ago, and he just totally breaks it all together to own the record by himself, to be the leader of sacks in the record for sacks in a football season by a defensive end. He will be not just defensive, but just sacks in a season. He will be the leader of that, and he might do it against the Steelers in their house. And I think it'll be kind of funny how fitting that would be for that moment to happen against the Steelers and the fans and all of that. Next game, Chargers Cowboys. Chargers win the game 34-17. Herbert was awesome in this game, 23 of 29, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. I think this might be the time where he's probably playing his best football he's played in a while. It's not his most explosive football he has played, but I think it is the best combination of he's making the right reads, he's making the big boy plays and like getting outside the pocket and running down the field. He's dealing with a broken bones in his hand on his opposite, not his throwing hand, but his opposite hand. He's also playing through that. So he's playing tough. He's making the big plays when necessary. It's not always most explosive, but when they need him to, he is able to go out there and make the plays that they need to go ahead and win. They ran the football effectively in this game. Omarion Hampton leading back, 16 carries, 85 yards, and a touchdown. Herbert also had a rushing touchdown in this game off of 8 carries and 42 yards. Quentin Johnston actually had his best game that he's had in a little while. He started off the season really hot and then kind of went in a lull a little bit. But in this game, he played well. 4 catches, 104 yards, and a touchdown. The rookie wide receiver, Trey Harris, for them, had a decent game. 4 catches, 54 yards. Keenan Allen had 5 catches for 44. Loud McConkey had a touchdown catch with 4 receptions and 43 yards. And it was just a bunch of other guys just kind of getting involved. Will Disley had a couple of catches. Another young receiver for them, Keandre Lambert-Smith. Hampton had a catch. Gadsden, their tight end, also had a catch. So like they were just distributing the football a lot to a lot of different players on that Chargers offense, and they went out there and did what they had to do, especially getting that fourth quarter where they're like third and fourth quarter where they scored the 13 unanswered to really pull away from the Cowboys in the second half. Cowboys offense, again, this is the thing with the Cowboys all year long. Their offense is the better part of their team. Their defense, even though they've kind of started playing better as of recently, it's just in this game they just did not have the horses to keep up with the Chargers and kind of keep them from scoring the way they needed to. Dak Prescott was fine in this game, 21 of 30, 244, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. But just outside of that, like they just could not get anything going. They ran the football for like 91 yards total in this game. But again, once you kind of get down in that in the second half, it just takes the Cowboys out of being able to even try to run the football as often. So it kind of makes them a little bit of a one-dimensional offense. And that, again, they just weren't effective enough to kind of get back into the games. Not to mention the Chargers have a really good defense. That they're not necessarily like top of the league, but they are very good at everything. And you're not going to be able to just sit there and be like, hey, you're just going to gash us all the way up and down the football field and score the points the way you need to. So just Cowboys just weren't able to do enough. Pickens had a really good game, his first good game in probably a few weeks. coming off the issues of him not trying hard a few weeks ago. He had 7 catches, 130 yards, and a touchdown. CeeDee Lamb, 6 catches, 51 yards. And then there's a bunch of other different guys that they're using to kind of get the ball out there. But again, when you pass the football so much, you kind of have to do that. You can't just give them all to 2 guys. So the Cowboys, they're 6-8. Their playoff chances are pretty much over. And I just think that, it is what it is. And Dak Prescott, after the game, kind of vowed that they were going to be a lot better here going forward. And they weren't going to necessarily be in this spot where they are kind of knocked out of being in contention to really have some really to have meaningful games in the playoffs. That's what the Cowboys really want to do. With how Jerry Jones talks every year, talking about how they want to go after Super Bowl and all of that. I think to a certain extent, the players have to own that too and really do some more. Because again, a lot of guys getting paid a lot of money on that squad. And I think you have to kind of go out there and get the job done, even if you're not necessarily built perfectly. But again, you traded Micah Parsons. There's some things that you did to kind of take away from your chances. But again, that team is not necessarily the best built from top to bottom with how Jerry Jones has ran it up to this point. So hopefully that'll change, at least for the Cowboys fans' sake, because I know they're tired of getting fed the whole we're trying to go win a Super Bowl, and it ends up being kind of this way every single year where they're kind of knocked out, not able to get the job done by the end of the year. Titans actually win the game 26-9. This was the Chiefs' first game without Patrick Mahomes since he tore his ACL last week. They came into the game with, why am I forgetting his name? It was, who they have starting? Gardner Minshew was going to be their starting quarterback in this game. He started the game, and then he managed to have to leave because he tore his ACL. And then once he went out, they had to bring up their third-string quarterback, Chris Olajuwon, who, a guy that I know actually quite intimately because he is a guy that was drafted in the 7th round by the Steelers like 4 years ago to be just a guy that they were thinking maybe he can be a project quarterback. Didn't work out and all of that, but he managed to have to come up and play in this game because of all the issues with, not having Pat. And then now Gardner Minshew, the guy that's starting this game, he tore his ACL. He had to leave the game. So once he came in, it was like their offense really couldn't do anything, even against a terrible Tennessee Titans defense. Couldn't get anything going. They couldn't run the football. Their offense just kind of, wasted away in this game because, again, nobody ever goes into the season thinking your third-string quarterback's ever going to have to really play for you. And especially when that third-string quarterback for you is a journeyman quarterback that never really has shown enough to, go out there and be, a real starter in these football games. So, Kansas City, they're 6-9. Their season's not effectively, it is over. No Mahomes, they're kind of looking towards the future. So, all in all, I think losing this game is actually good for them because they'll have a better draft pick by the time the draft comes around because of these losses. But I do think a team that has been so prideful for winning football games and being in the hunt every single year, as long as they've had Patrick Mahomes at the helm, it is going to be a little bit of a kind of turn, kind of like a how the turns have tabled type of situation where you're going to have, you just have a lot of other big players on that team that don't really know losing, and they're doing a lot of losing right now. So, but to the winners of this game, Cam Ward, 21 of 28, 228, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. He made a lot of good throws in that game. Again, it wasn't the most it wasn't like the Tennessee Titans were awesome. It was more by the fact that because of how bad Kansas City was, it kind of set Tennessee up to where they were able to go out there and score some points. They ran the football effectively in this game. Tony Pollard, 21 carries, over 100 yards. Tajay Spears, 13 carries, 52 yards. He had a touchdown in this game as well. And then there was just a bunch of guys getting the ball receiving-wise. Alec Aomanor, 3 catches, 58 yards. Tajay Spears, another 5 catches, 53 yards on top of the running yards that he had in this game. He had over 100 yards total in this game between receiving and rushing. Chiga Okonkwo, their tight end, 6 catches, 44 yards and a touchdown. Chimere Dike, another wide receiver for them. They just have a very young team. I think offensively they just need a lot more weapons in general to kind of help out Cam Ward here in the future. But I think all in all, I think Tennessee, even though they only have 3 wins on the season, I think they've shown a lot of fight. And I think in a game like this where it was a very down Chiefs team that's down on their luck right now, I do find it to be at least, even though beating the Chiefs when they're looking this down, I think is not necessarily something you can hang your hat on for the season because, the Chiefs are not necessarily the Chiefs that they once were. But I think that the Titans, with how bad they have looked this year, to be able to go out there and win that game, even against the down Chiefs team, I think is a very positive note for you to take into these last few weeks of the season and then take into the offseason so that maybe you can build your team up to kind of get to a point where you're not looking for games like this against a down on their luck team, just like waiting for the season to be over. Next game, Bengals, Dolphins. Bengals win the game 45-21. Burrow, like coming in, like I was doing the podcast last week and previewing this game, I said, hey, this is going to be a game where Joe Burrow's going to go out there, get the ball to his guys. They're going to go out there and throw the football a lot. They're going to get a lot of yards. They're going to score touchdowns. I think it's going to be one of those to like make Bengals fans feel good. They're 5-10 on the year. Their season is essentially over. Again, it kind of sucks. Jason ain't here because he's mad at me. But, is what it is. That whole thing, real quick. I know it sounds like, I know probably most of that's probably going to be very hard to listen to because of how much yelling it was. And I didn't even know until halfway through. I probably should have turned down the levels to kind of make it a little more manageable for people to hear. But it was just weird. I didn't expect to get into that big of a thing about it. And again, I wasn't even getting all that heated. And I think that probably is what made it worse because I wasn't getting heated, but I was still standing on what I was thinking in the scenario. But it is what it is sometimes when you're dealing with your brother and dealing with all that. You kind of get into arguments. What do you say argument? Because he was more mad at me than I was at him. I don't know. He was just getting real heated at me for some crazy reason. But, it is what it is. Back to the Bengals. Joe Burrow played great. 25-32, 309 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 picks. Chase Brown had an amazing game. He had 12 carries, 66 yards, and a touchdown. And then on top of that, he also had 4 catches, 43 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So he had a total of 3 total touchdowns in this game. He had over 100 yards total in just scrimmage yards. And he had an awesome game. Samaje Perine also had a rushing touchdown in this game. He had 7 carries, 25 yards. Jamar Chase didn't get a touchdown in this game, but he did everything. But he had 9 catches, 109 yards. Definitely a Jamar Chase-like game. T. Higgins, 3 catches, 53 yards, and a touchdown. That's a T. Higgins type stat line in this offense where maybe he doesn't get all the catches like Jamar Chase does, but in the big moments where you need a touchdown, T. Higgins is going to be that guy. Mike Gesicki, the tight end, 3 catches, 35 yards, and a touchdown. And then there's like a total of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other guys that got into the game and at least had a catch. So like they were distributing the ball. Again, you beat the Miami Dolphins by 24 points, so there definitely is going to be a lot of opportunities to get other guys in there. But Bengals came out. They're 5-10. They beat the Dolphins are a much worse football team, and Cincinnati Bengals did their thing. And I think Joe Burrow got to have a little bit of fun out there. He looked like he was having a good time. And they did what they had to do. And again, the Bengals are a team with Joe Burrow at the helm that I think that they are not just looking at having a fun game in the middle of December and not looking forward to the playoffs. I think they have a little bit higher hopes. So I don't think this all in all fixes everything when it comes to what Joe Burrow has been dealing with how he doesn't feel like the organization has been helping him out and the injuries and all the bad luck for them and the bad defense. So like it doesn't fix all of that. But I do think if you're a Bengals fan and watched that game and got to watch them at least go out there and put on a light show a little bit with Joe Burrow at the helm is definitely a big one. And I think that, again, doesn't fix all your issues, but I think it just kind of, you can take a couple hours and just have fun in the moment. Dolphins, I was talking about this on the last pod. Quinn Ewers was going to be the starter for them in this game because they had benched Tua. He came out, did okay. He had 20 of 30, 260 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 picks. 2 very bad picks, by the way. 2 very ill-advised balls that he threw up there that he shouldn't have. But again, that's been Quinn Ewers his whole career ever since he was at Texas, and then coming into the NFL. I think he's very prone to do that. Even though he can be very accurate at times, he can have some anticipatory throws. But there are just times you look at him and he makes a throw, and you're like, why in the hell would you try to that throw at all? And for whatever reason, he does that, and he has those moments. And again, I don't think he went out there. I think he proved to be a little bit more explosive with him being able to throw the football down the field. but I just don't think he's going to be a big difference in between him and what they have in Tua. Again, I don't think Tua is the option either. I think they need to hit a hard reset on what they are as a football team and like really bring in a whole bunch of new guys, including quarterback. But I just don't think Quinn Ewers is going to be that long-term answer, even though he got the opportunity to do so once they decided to bench Tua. So, he didn't play all that great. But again, they drafted him in the 7th round. I don't think they really expected him to come out and tear it up. Devon Achane had a great game, though. 15 carries, 81 yards, and a touchdown. Their backup running back, Jalen Wright, also had a touchdown in this game, 9 carries, 35 yards. And their wide receiver, Malik Washington, had I think it was an end around that he managed to run the football in for a touchdown. He had 1 carry, 9 yards. But Jalen Waddle, 5 catches, 72 yards. And Greg Dulcich had 3 catches, 46. Darren Waller, 3 catches for 40. And then there's a bunch of other guys that kind of got involved and kind of catching. But again, like I said, for the Bengals side, they were able to kind of get a lot of guys involved. The fact that this game really was, by the time the third quarter had really gone through, like the Dolphins were out of this game. So be able to get a bunch of guys in there to go in there and do their thing. I had a bet on this game. It was like a 6-leg parlay. I needed the last leg to hit, and I needed Devon Achane to get 100 rushing and receiving yards in order to win this bet. I think it was like a $2 bet for like 100 or something like that. And he had 90 yards, and then they took him off the field, didn't let him back, and they had 3 more drives, and he did not play whatsoever. I just needed him to get 10 more yards, either rushing or receiving, and it didn't happen. It was a tough watch because, again, the game was boring. It was over, but I had to keep watching because I was hoping to win a bet, and it didn't work out that way. So I was definitely not all that happy about it. Next game, you got Jets, Saints. You have Saints win the game 29-6. I have to say, the Saints, over the last couple weeks, I think have shown some life. Again, this is a team that I think is definitely going to have to hit the reset button. Like, they have to get a lot of new guys in on that roster. But over the last 3 weeks, they're on a 3-game winning streak. They beat the Buccaneers in their house. They beat the Panthers, who is the leader in the division right now in the NFC South. And then they beat the Jets this past game. Like, they're on a 3-game winning streak. And again, the Saints were looking really bad at one point in the season where they didn't like they win more than 2 or 3 games. They're 5-10. Would you believe it this way? The Saints are 5-10 right now. The Chiefs are 6-9. Again, it's kind of like a cheeky thing for me to say to try to like equate those two teams because the Chiefs are so down bad. They don't have Patrick Mahomes and like things really aren't going their way. But like the idea that there's even a way that these teams are even close to even having that conversation about their records being similar is absolutely an insane possibility. But Tyler Shuck, 32 of 49, 308 yards. Again, this is against a very bad Jets team. But again, these are 2 bad teams playing against each other. I think the New Orleans Saints are probably showing a little more life as of right now. 32 of 49, 308 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 picks. Taysom Hill, he went 1 for 1 for 38-yard touchdown to Chris Olave. So like even Taysom Hill, the do-it-all guy / tight end that they have, he's got to come in and make a play. Big touchdown to Chris Olave in this game. Rushing, they ran the football for 84 yards. Nothing crazy, but, they did what they had to do to come in and win the game. But Chris Olave had a Chris Olave-like game. 10 receptions, 148 yards, 2 touchdowns. I was very happy for him because he came out after this game and talked about how there were some real dark times in the offseason where he thought about retiring from football because of all the concussions that he had. And he wasn't sure if he really wanted to keep going and potentially take that risk. But he said he prayed on it and he decided he wanted to come back because football what he really wanted to do. And I'm glad, even though it has been a hard season when it comes to winning and losing, that it hasn't been a very explosive year for him, but he's definitely made a lot of plays. And I'm glad he got to have this little shining moment here as the season is waning, that he can go out there and have like that game to really reinvigorate himself. So they hopefully help him on going into next year and like really gain his confidence to where he can get back to doing what he was doing. Because when he first got to the Saints and like when they were Saints were at least trying to be relevant, he was out there making big plays. And I'm just like, as long as he can stay healthy and keep the concussions away and get some good quarterback play, which is what they're getting as of recently. Shuck has really gone out there and doing some good things over the last few weeks. They're doing some things, and I'm glad Chris Olave got that chance to have that really good game. even if it's against a bad Jets team. Juwan Johnson, 8 catches, 89 yards. He also had a very good game, the tight end for them. Taysom Hill, on top of the touchdown touchdown throw, he had 4 catches, 36 yards as a tight end. He also did well. So, like, this Saints team, they went out there and did what they had. Again, Jets are bad. They had Brady Cook as their starting quarterback in this game. He has been absolutely awful for them. No bright spot when it comes to Brady Cook being their quarterback. And you know what's crazy? Is that they're having Justin Fields just sit. Apparently, he has some sort of injury that's keeping him off the field. But here's my thing. If they really thought they could win these football games, I think they would let him back on the field. But I think they're just ready to keep losing these games to potentially go and try to get a high first round pick to go and draft a new quarterback. So I don't even think, even if they were able to get better quarterback play, I don't think they'd want it. And again, everything has gone so bad with Justin Fields and how it has gone there. All in all, I just think that's something that's not going to happen again. I think they threw him on an IR and he's not going to be playing for the rest of the season. So I think it's like pretty much a stamp of approval of an absolute fucking disaster when it came to the marriage between Justin Fields and the Jets. And it makes me feel a little sad because obviously I'm a Justin Fields fan. He played at Ohio State. My heart, that's my school. And I really love that football team. And he bring a lot of prosperity when he was in a Buckeye uniform. And I've followed him ever since. I really want him to succeed. And watching him be able to have a little bit of success with the Steelers last year made me hope a little bit that maybe he can be the future guy for the Steelers. Didn't work out that way. He managed to go take the money to go to the Jets. Again, the money is a big thing. That's going to be life-changing money for him and his family on top of everything else he's made throughout of his career. But it's just, I just feel bad with like this may be a mark that stays with him for the rest of his career, that he can't be a guy because of how bad things have gone with the Jets, but I just don't think it's all his fault. Again, he carries plenty of blame. He hasn't been he hasn't made the progressions as a quarterback he has needed to in between the ears and physically to do what he has to in the NFL, become that guy. But it's not. If he was with a better organization and a better surrounding cast, I think it would be better than what he has shown this year with the Jets. And again, he showed it when he was playing better last year when he was playing the first 6 weeks with the Steelers. So I'm just a little sad about this situation for sure, because I just want to see Justin Fields succeed in the NFL. And for whatever reason, a lot of reasons, it's probably not going to work out that way. But again, he'll show up. He can just be in Columbus for the rest of his life, and everybody will love him. I don't think he'll ever pay for a meal again, because I think he was just that. He was like that. A lot of people's favorite player when he was at Ohio State for the few years that he was there. So I think there's a lot of other things he can do in his life, even if it doesn't end up being a great NFL player like I thought he was going to be at one point. Next game, Vikings-Giants. This game sucked. It was bad. Jackson Dart, I had to talk about him first because it was so bad. 7 of 13 for 33 yards. 0 touchdowns and a pick. And let me tell you, folks, he did not complete a pass until with minutes left in the first half is when he completed his first pass. I think he only attempted 2 passes in the first half. So, I don't know what the plan for this Giants team was, but they decided, hey, we're just going to not let Jackson Dart throw this game and see if we can win it. Again, the game was relatively close despite that, in saying that was the case. But I just don't know what the plan was. I think if they really wanted to win that game, they should have let him do more. But, it is what it is. They ran the football effectively. Tyrone Tracy, 16 carries, 71 yards. Singletary, their backup, had 11 carries for 47. They had over 120 yards rushing in this game. That was probably the bright spot of this game because they didn't do any passing at all. Their leading receiver had 3 catches for 19 yards in Wan'Dale Robinson. Oh, my God. The Giants were terrible. To the Vikings, they won the game. It was bad. It didn't look good. It didn't feel good. Again, this Minnesota Vikings team is 7-8. Their season's over. They're not going to make in the playoffs or anything. But, J.J. McCarthy started for them this game. He went 9 of 14, 108 yards, 0 touchdowns, and a pick before he eventually, guess what happened? He got injured. Apparently, he had a broken bone in his right hand or something like that. This dude is injured all the time. And I think that was like one of the risks that people were looking at for him coming into the NFL, is that like he's slightly built, he's slight of frame, kind of like the same thing with Jaden Daniels. But I think J.J. McCarthy lacks a lot of the be able to get away from people type of stuff, that what Jaden Daniels is amazing at. So, and Jaden Daniels is perpetually injured. So, like, and not to mention, at their best, J.J. McCarthy is nowhere near the quarterback that Jaden Daniels is when they're both playing at 100%. But on top of J.J. McCarthy not being great, when he does go out there, he ends up getting hurt a lot, and it's just such a bad. When the Vikings picked him, I think the 10th or 11th overall, everybody was like, "Oh, it's such a great pick. He's with a quarterback developer and a head coach, and it's going to go great." And it's like, when I was seeing J.J. McCarthy come out, I was like, "Hey, he was there for 4 years, and they never asked him to do a lot. So why would that change in the NFL, where he's all of a sudden going to become an NFL quarterback that's going to be able to shoulder having to actually throw the football and win football games?" And I'm just like, it's just like, I just didn't think that was ever going to work out. And it has kind of worked out the way I thought. And a lot of college football fans that watch J.J. McCarthy play in college, again, he played for a great Michigan team that went out there and won a national championship on top of the sign stealing and all that. Again, he benefited from the sign stealing. As the quarterback at Michigan. Again, I'll say it's true. It's kind of the way it went, but they did win a national championship without being stealing signs as much, at least those last 5 or 6 games of that season. But like in the NFL, it has been terrible. He's been hurt a lot. He's slight of frame. All those things are going against him, and it just looks like this was an absolute disaster of a pick by the Minnesota Vikings, and it's capped off by all the injuries. So even if they want him off the field, they have to bring in a guy like Max Brosmer, who was a rookie quarterback. I'm not sure where he played college at. He played at Minnesota. I do remember the name Brosmer. Kind of insane, but he was bad at Minnesota as well. Brosmer, when they brought him in, he was 7-9 for 52 yards. Didn't do anything in this game. The Vikings, they did win the game, so they had to do something right. Aaron Jones, 21 carries, 85 yards. J.J. McCarthy, before he got hurt, did score the only touchdown that Minnesota had gotten in this game. He had two carries, 20 yards, and a touchdown. So at least J.J. McCarthy did something to help them win this football game before he left. Justin Jefferson at least got involved in the offense. 6 catches, 85 yards, 0 touchdowns. He had 14 yards a catch, so at least he got involved, because it's been like very, very, very seldom he's been really getting the football at all over this last month or so. I'm surprised he hasn't crashed out like A.J. Brown as of yet. Jordan Addison, 2 catches, 26 yards. Again, this is just a bad football game altogether offensively. And I don't know. These are two teams. Again, at least the Giants maybe think they have a quarterback. But again, the way they treated Jackson Dart, and I'm like, do they even trust? Was this about them not trusting him to throw the football, or was this about saying, hey, we're just going to be super, maybe we could just wait for Minnesota to make a mistake with J.J. McCarthy as their quarterback and we can win this game without throwing the football? I'm just like, that is not a game plan that shows that you have confidence in your quarterback. But I don't know. The Giants team is terrible. They don't have an actual head coach right now. It's an interim guy. So I'm not going to sit here and take any long-term thoughts about that, but it's just terrible all around in that game. Next game, Buccaneers Panthers. Panthers win the game 23-20. I think me and Jace, we both started the year being real Tampa Bay believers, and it has just not been a good year, man. They got hurt. They were started off the season hot, and then all their guys got hurt. Mike Evans went out. Mech got hurt, got a hamstring injury, and then they just lost so many guys. Bucky Irving had missed a bunch of weeks with an injury, and it's just everything. They trying to hold on, and now you bring all the guys back, and they're just not playing good football right now. Again, when you have so many guys hurt for so long, and then you bring them all back, they just haven't played a lot of football together, and then you're playing against other teams that they've played a lot of football. And even if they're not great football teams, they're playing best the right time because they've just played a lot together. And that's what the Carolina Panthers have been. The Carolina Panthers are 8-7. They're not a great football team, but it's just they've played a lot together and they can make big plays when they need to. Bryce Young, 21-32, 191 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. Again, Bryce Young was just I'm not saying he's ever going to be a guy that can be a superstar and like be like a really good starter in the league. I don't think that's ever going to be him. But what they're asking to do right now is manage the football game and not make crazy mistakes. And I think to a certain extent he's done that, especially in these bigger games, like especially in the NFC South games. Like he has been pretty lights out and just not making a lot of mistakes, and he's just been managing the football games, and they've done very well. They ran the football for just over 100 yards. Rico Dowdle, 9 carries, 29 yards. Chuba Hubbard, 27 yards off 6 carries. Ted McMillan, I think he is the best player on their team. The wide receiver for them, he had 6 catches, 73 yards, and a touchdown. Jalen Coker, 47 yards off 3 catches. Rico Dowdle had 4 catches. So it was a back and forth affair. These two teams were fighting tooth and nail, clawing against each other to win this game. And I just think if Baker and the Buccaneers had a chance to really build throughout the season and really come together as a team, their defense has been awful. I think their defense has been pretty atrocious all year long. I don't think that was going to change no matter how much they played together. But offensively, I just think they have been out of sync in the highest of degrees. And I think that's really bit them in the butt, especially over this last 3 games where they're on a 3-game losing streak. Again, all these games being in conference, in division too. So definitely not games you can lose, especially when you're playing against these teams that have played you a lot and they know what you like to do. So if they know what you like to do and they and you're not playing at your best because you just haven't played a lot together and you've been injured a lot, I just feel like these teams are able to take advantage of those moments where Baker's not necessarily as sharp and not be able to get the ball to his receivers on time, on target. Again, this game ended. Tampa Bay had a chance to come back and either hit the field goal or score a touchdown to win the game, to tie or win. Tie with a field goal, win with a touchdown. And Baker it was like a broken play. Baker just threw the ball behind Mike Evans and they weren't on the same page. And it goes right to the safety that was sitting in the corner, was sitting right behind him because he just threw it right to, because Mike Evans was going the other way. So I'm just like, that is something that you get that doesn't happen when you're playing a whole season together and you're just in sync, on time, on target. And I just don't think you can get that because of how many different injuries that everybody has gotten in and all of that. So I think that this Buccaneers team has really fallen apart at the seams. They're 7-8. They were, honestly, when you look at what these teams are, they think the Buccaneers should have been running away with this division, but it's just injuries. Defense has been kind of like atrocious and kind of falling apart. And I think now offensively, they're going by the wayside as well. Baker, did I mention Baker's stat line? 18 of 26, 145, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Not good at all. Bucky Irving, 19 carries, 71 yards. He was fine. Baker Mayfield had 49 yards rushing in this game. Rashad White had 45 yards rushing. They ran the football for 169 yards. So, they ran the football pretty effectively. But it's just, in the big moment when they needed points, just weren't able to get them, especially at the end of the game where they had a chance to either tie or win it. Mech, 1 catch, 40 yards. He started off the season so hot and then had the hamstring injury, and then he kind of played through it, but then he missed a few games, and it's just it felt like ever since he has come back from injury, it has just been not to mention Mike Evans comes back, and then you also get Chris Godwin back, so it kind of felt like he so quickly, because of injuries, went to the top of the depth chart, and him and Baker were coming together, and they were really getting their they really come together on time, knowing what each other likes to do. And then Mech gets hurt, takes a step back. In his first year in the NFL, it's not necessarily a crazy idea that happens. And then you have your better wide receiver, at least the guys that Baker knows more, come back, and they come back healthy, and Mike Evans is back, Chris Godwin's back, and those guys just have a better rapport from Baker because they've been playing with him for so many years. And I feel like all of that has kind of come together to where Mech hits a wall and is not able to come back stronger from that because of everything that's kind of going against them in that way. And he's kind of dropped back to wide receiver 3 in that offense, and it's just, he should be thriving in that spot, but it's just all these players are not used to playing in these spots that they have now because they've just been injured and they haven't really played together all that much. And they're playing against the Panthers team that I don't find them great, but they've been playing together. They know what they want to do. They have a good philosophy about how they want to play these football games, and they're doing what they have to do to win. And I have to give the Carolina Panthers a lot of credit for taking advantage of the Buccaneers, who are just falling apart at the seams right now. Jags, Broncos, where are we at time-wise? Over 2 hours now? See, that argument in the middle definitely didn't help us time-wise. That sucks. Let me get through the rest of these games. I don't want to go too much longer. Jags, Broncos, good game. Jags win 34-20. Trevor Lawrence, 23 of 36, 279, 3 touchdowns, 0 picks. He also had 6 carries for 20 yards and a touchdown. I have to give Trevor Lawrence his flowers because I have not been a Trevor Lawrence fan ever. Again, maybe I'm a little bit of a hater because of the time he had at Clemson and he beat us in the playoff and all of that. I'm a little bit of a hater, not going to lie, a little bit of a troll when it comes to Trevor Lawrence. And his start of his NFL career had not been all that awesome. And it has taken him 5-6 years to figure it out. But under this year, under a new head coach, Liam Cohen, new head coach / offense coordinator, Liam Cohen, they have really figured something out. And I think Trevor Lawrence is now playing the best football he has played as a pro. He's throwing the football. He's throwing it effectively. They're pushing the football down the field. He's running the football, using his legs a lot, which I think has unlocked a different part of the game where I think it's opened some things up for him passing-wise because he's able to at least show that the defense has to worry about him finding a rush lane and getting some extra yards when he can. And I think with that, I think he has turned into a much better player, and he's playing some very good football right now. The Jags are 11-4. Like, they're playing some – and they played against the Broncos team that was 12-2 at the time. So they are playing against a very good Denver defense, and the defense just could not stop Jacksonville whatsoever because of how efficient and good Trevor Lawrence has been playing. They didn't run the football effectively. Travis Etienne, 16 carries, 50 yards. So it wasn't like they ran the football down the Denver Broncos' throat. They were throwing the football and pushing it down the field, and they made a lot of big plays. And that's on Trevor Lawrence. That's on Liam Cohen, their head coach / offense coordinator, where they're really clicking at the right time, and they're really they're a dangerous football team. No doubt. I think their defense can be had, of course. I think their defense is probably the weakness of that team, but it's just offensively they are just clicking on such a high level right now that they're just going to be a very hard team to beat in the playoffs. Again, you're going up against a lot of other great teams. So again, that can be who knows how that's going to go once you get to the big dance, but I have to give Trevor Lawrence and that Jaguars team their credit. They're playing awesome football right now. I think it's almost under the radar how good they have been this season because everybody just kind of hey, it's the Jaguars. It's very easy to forget them, but they're playing awesome ball. Parker Washington was the leading receiver for the Jags in this game. 6 catches, 145 yards and a touchdown. Jacoby Myers, 4 catches, 45 yards. Britton Strange, their tight end, 5 catches, 39 yards. Brian Thomas Jr. had a couple catches. I think the fact that Brian Thomas Jr., as good as he was last year, I think was he a rookie last year or was it his second year last year? But again, the fact that he was looking like he was going to be their number 1, and he has so quickly turned into a number 3 receiver for them because of how good Myers has been since they traded for him to get him from the Raiders, and then Parker Washington's having a couple big games as of recently, and then Britton Strange, their tight end, is playing well, and they have a lot of weapons that they've been using, and ETN didn't even do all that much. He had 4 catches, 16 yards on top of the 50 yards he had rushing, and he had a touchdown as well. So they have so many weapons, and they're distributing the football to so many different players, and they're just playing very good football offensively. Bo Nix, 28 of 47, 352 yards passing, 1 touchdown and 1 pick. That 1 pick, definitely a bad one that he threw. RJ Harvey, 7 carries, 50 yards and a touchdown. They ran the football for just over 100 yards as a team, so they weren't able to run the football as effectively. But again, they just, I think it was more on their defense just not able to stop Jacksonville from scoring. Again, 20 points for Denver actually ain't that bad. And as much as I'm not the biggest fan of Bo Nix, he didn't play terrible. Like I said, 28 of 47, 352. He had the pick was bad, but other than that, I think he played a fine game. But it's just they just weren't able to do enough against how efficient Jacksonville was in this game. Cortland Sutton, 6 catches, 86 yards and a touchdown. RJ Harvey, on top of the 50 yards he had rushing, he had another 71 yards receiving off 4 catches. He had over 120 yards total scrimmage yards in this game. Troy Franklin, 4 catches, 66 yards. Pat Bryant, the wide receiver that started the whole argument with me and Jace about hospital balls, he had 5 catches, 42 yards. And then you had a hospital ball thrown by Bo Nix to Pat Bryant that kind of got him sent to the hospital because he was just such a bad. Should not have thrown that football in the middle of the field like that. And then other guys just kind of get in. Marvin Mims had a couple of catches. Troutman, Jordan Humphrey, I've talked about him before, but that's a crazy name to have. But it was just 2 very good teams going at it. Jacksonville just got the better of the Broncos in that game. Definitely an awesome game to watch. But the Jaguars ran away with it. They won by a couple scores. Next game, Falcons-Cardinals. Falcons win the game 26-19. Bijan Robinson was like the big. He was the big boy for the Falcons in this game. He had 76 yards rushing off 16 carries, and then he also had another 92 yards receiving off 7 catches and a touchdown. So like he was awesome in this game. Kyle Pitts, 7 catches, 57 yards and a touchdown. He was also very big in this game. Tyler Algier, the backup running back for the Falcons, he had 79 yards rushing off 16 He came back carries. For this game. He had missed a few games with an injury.
All those guys,
he came back and barely did anything, but they didn't need him to because they had so much production from everywhere else. He only had 3 catches for 27 yards. But with all those guys producing the way they were, Kirk Cousins, 21 of 35, 197, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Like when everybody is doing that well around him, it makes it to where Kirk Cousins doesn't have to shoulder the load all on his own. And it does make that Falcons team a very multiple team that has a lot of dudes to have to deal with, and it makes it very hard, a very hard team to beat. And then defensively, the Falcons are fine. They're not great, but they're fine. They can make it hard on an offense to really go out there and try to score points, and that's exactly what they did. Jacoby Brissett for the Cardinals, 16 of 31, 200 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. The Cardinals ran the ball fine. They had 132 yards total rushing in this game. But it's just they just weren't able to score the way they needed to win this game, especially with how good the Falcons were. Elijah Higgins was the leading receiver for the Cardinals in this game, 7 catches, 91 yards. Michael Wilson had 2 catches, 52 yards, and a touchdown. Trey McBride, he did very little in this game, 4 catches, 27 yards. The Falcons were able to really hold him in check to where he wasn't able to take over the game for the Cardinals like he usually does offensively. Marvin Harrison was back in this game. He had 1 catch for 14 yards coming off the heel injury that he was dealing with. He definitely did not look to be all that explosive, but again, it's against the Falcons, so it's a little bit harder of a challenge, especially with him coming back his first game, and I think he's played in a month. So it's just the Falcons came out, they bum rushed him a little bit, and again, it was 16-16 at the end of the first half, but in the second half, the Falcons were just able to kind of get more going offensively and score 10 points to the Cardinals 3 in the second half. Next game, this is a big one for me. Steelers-Lions. Steelers win the game 29-24. This might be the best game that the Steelers have played all year long, both offensively. Defensively, not as much because the Lions did come back in that second half. I think they scored 14 points in that fourth quarter to really get back into the game when the Steelers were like kind of up and like really controlling the game. It's like, but in the first 3 quarters, I think the Steelers defense did a great job of holding the Lions down, and they couldn't run the football at all. I think total, the Lions had 15 total rushing yards in this game. So, and they're, again, against Jahmyr Gibbs, who I think is a top 5 back, and when he's playing at his best, potentially the number 1 back in all of the NFL, they held Jahmyr Gibbs to 7 carries and 2 yards total. David Montgomery had 4 carries and 14 yards, but he also had a longest carry of 17 yards, which is how much the Steelers were able to stop the Detroit Lions from being able to run the football. Jared Goff, he did fine, 34-54 for 364 yards and 3 touchdowns. The fact that the Steelers were able to play a game in the Detroit Lions house against Jared Goff, and Jared Goff threw for over 350 yards and 3 touchdowns, and the Steelers were able to win, I do think that's a big positive on the Steelers side. 'Cause I'm like, if you give me that stat line from Jared Goff, I think the Steelers probably lose this game running this is the Lions win by multiple scores, I think. But coming out of the game, come from watching it, again, that second half, the Lions kind of got going and were able to get up and down the field. But when the Steelers defense had to have it, they made it happen. I will talk about that ending sequence here in a minute, but I just want to get to the rest of the stats real quick before I get there. Jamison Williams had a great game for the Lions in this game, 5 catches, 70 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs, even though he didn't run the football that effectively, they got the football to him, throwing it to him. He had 10 catches, 66 yards, and a touchdown. Khalif Raymond was a kind of a hidden gem for them in this game. He had 4 catches, 62 yards, and a touchdown. St. Brown, he had 4 catches, 54 yards. Isaac Tesla, he had 4 catches, 52 yards, and a touchdown. He had a very good touchdown catch in that game. Let's see here. Let me get to the Steelers first, and then I'll get to that ending sequence. Aaron Rodgers played a very good game. 27 of 41, 266 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 picks. He was only sacked twice, so they were able to get the ball out quick and give him enough protection. I think he got sacked twice in the first half by Aiden Hutchinson, and then outside of that, he didn't get touched at all in that game. So very good on him to get the ball out quick, and on the offensive line to give him enough protection and kind of get the ball out and do what they have to do. The Steelers ran the football the best they probably have ran the football all year long, to be totally honest with you. Jaylen Warren, 14 carries, 143 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He had 2 separate 45-yard touchdown runs in this game in the second half, which was awesome to see because, again, the Steelers have really kind of gotten away from running the football here in the last couple of games because of how inefficient that they were. But the Lions defense has been so hurt, and they've had so many different guys having to go in and out of that lineup that I think that not being able, again, running the football in the tune of 230 yards in this game was kind of crazy. I didn't think that was going to be possible, but the fact that they were able to run they tried and they actually were able to be a little efficient running the football was definitely a good sign to see with how hurt the Lions defense has been as of recent. Like I said, Jaylen Warren, 2 touchdowns, 143 yards. Kenneth Gainwell, I think it's him and Jaylen Warren that were literally the superstars in this game. Kenneth Gainwell, 9 carries, 50 yards, but then on top of that, he also had 5 catches for 78 yards and a touchdown, including a 45-yard touchdown catch that he made that was awesome. Going into the end of the first half, then it was like Rodgers was getting the ball. I think they had a clip of it where he was telling Kenneth Gainwell, started on the side of him, told him to go out into the flat and just try to get a catch there. And then right before the play started, he told Gainwell, "Hey, you're on a line. You have a linebacker one-on-one on you. I don't run a go ball." And they threw a go ball to Kenneth Gainwell, and he got held like a motherfucker. And by that linebacker, got the flag. But as they were falling, apparently Rodgers put enough air under it to where Gainwell was able to kind of adjust to it while he was falling to the ground, and managed to get his hand right under the football as it was about to hit the ground, caught it, and then got back up to get up and then go get the touchdown catch and that make it a touchdown at the end of that first half to kind of make it tied 10-10 going into halftime. That was an absolutely amazing play by Kenneth Gainwell. It was a good throw by Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers had another throw too in the second half where it was if he had gotten it, it would have been a touchdown, but it was dropped by Marquez Valdez-Scantling. So Aaron Rodgers is really on point in this game and throwing the football very well. And you have to give the offense a lot of credit. They ran the football as well as they did. Kenneth Gainwell was absolutely awesome. I do have to give a lot of credit to some of these wide receivers. Again, I've been very negative about the wide receiver core in general. Other than DK Metcalf, there has been really no number 2. But I think as of the last couple weeks, they've been finding ways to, even if they don't have a consistent number 2, the number 2 guy, they have been rotating. They've been getting guys in this game. Adam Thielen, 4 catches, 49 yards, on top of the fact that I said Kenneth Gainwell, he was the leading receiver for them in this game. I think Kenneth Gainwell might be playing the best football on the whole offense, to be totally honest. But outside Kenneth Gainwell, they're getting the ball a lot in the passing game. Adam Thielen, 4 catches, 49 yards. DK Metcalf, he had a big game in a different way because he made headlines for his actions. He had 4 catches, 42 yards. Not necessarily a great game. Darnell Washington, 3 catches, 36 yards. Pat Fryermuth had 4 catches and 20 yards. Scotty Miller had 3 catches, 19. So, like, Jalen Warren had a couple catches. Like, there was a lot of dudes getting involved, and they're doing a very good job. I'll get to the Metcalf thing real quick here before I get to the rest of the game. Middle of the game, he ended up going to a Detroit Lions fan in the stands at the and had grabbed his shirt. And then kind of like threw him on, like almost hit him. It looked like he punched a fan in the face, which I don't think that was the case. I think he just grabbed his shirt and then kind of like shoot him off. Well, like it was a very aggressive thing. You can't do it. He was suspended for 2 games because the NFL just doesn't want that to happen. You can't do that to a fan. I totally understand that. There was news that he was saying that the fan had called him some derogatory names. And also called his mom that, but there's been videos that come out that have proven that not to be the case. Who knows who's telling the truth? If that is the case, and the fan had said something crazy to him like that, then I'm not gonna be all that upset. But if this is one of those things where all the dude was doing very minor things to DK Metcalf and he overreacted, and then on the back end try to lie about it, it's definitely not a great look. And I'm very upset about that because at the end of the day, if those things are said to you, then it's not about football anymore. It's a human thing, so I wouldn't be able to blame him if that happened. But if it's anything else and it's very lighthearted, like either not answer the guy at all, go talk to security and let security deal with it and get the guy out of the game, but don't go handle it yourself. There's too much relying on you when it comes to the team, and you make too much money. Like I just feel like if it's just little things that the guy is saying, don't let that guy get into your head and like make you make a bad decision. Especially if he didn't say anything crazy. It was bad. It was a bad look, and he got suspended for 2 games coming out of it. He's gonna be missing out on $500K in money, just what he was gonna get paid for those 2 games he was gonna play. And then potentially, if the Steelers want to take advantage of it, that could void the other like $45 million worth of guarantees that he has on the rest of his contract because of this suspension that he got. I don't think the Steelers are going to take advantage of it because I just think that they still want him to be happy and be on the football team. But like he's opened that door for him to get screwed, his money to get screwed over that way. And that's the part I wish he would think about more before making the decision that he made in that moment. So I don't know. It was a bad look, very bad black eye on a very good game by the Steelers. But now that I'm done talking about that, we'll get to everything else. So Steelers run away with the game. It feels like it's going to be a rout. And then in that fourth quarter, the Detroit Lions managed to like kind of get everything going offensively. Jared Goff's throwing the football down the field very well. They're moving up and down the field. And it comes to a point where the Detroit Lions score a touchdown to go down by 5 points. Give the ball back to the Steelers. The Steelers can't make really any drive worth anything to go and like take away all the time off the clock. And then the Lions get the ball back with like 2 minutes left. Let me make sure I'm not crazy. Yeah, with like 2 minutes and 5 seconds left, they have to punt the ball back to the Lions. And the Lions were able to like get all the way down the field. There was a pass interference call on the Steelers that I think was a little bit ticky-tacky. Could have gone either way because I think literally Kyle Duggar, the safety, had gotten there literally right before the ball had gotten there. So by the letter of the law, I guess it does count as pass interference, but I just think that when you watch it, it was a bang-bang play. I think the defender just made a great play. But again, it is what it is. So that was considered defensive pass interference, and that gave the Lions a big conversion to kind of get them going down the field. And then Lions get all the way down there, and they get to a point where they're like first and goal. First and goal, all they need is a touchdown to go ahead and win the game. And they the first pass they go for, they try to get a touchdown, but it was coming. There was a pick in that play that the officials called as offensive pass interference, and they pushed them back 10, 15 yards. And then they take a couple plays to kind of get back into, it was like a 4th and goal. And they had to go for just, this is the last play, not a lot of time left. We're going to try to go for this touchdown to win it. If not, okay. So they go for it. Amon-Ra St. Brown had going down the field, pushed off on the defender, and then came back to the football, but it took him out of the end zone when he did the push off. And then the defensive player for the Steelers had came up, grabbed him, and literally all forward progress had stopped. Like, he was stopped. They weren't able to move him at all. He wasn't going forward. He was going backwards. They took him back. He was going backwards 5 yards. And it almost felt like the officials had like whistled the play dead, because again, forward progress, as soon as a player's like not going forward anymore, like that's usually when the play is stopped, because there's just no progress is being made. And literally as they were blowing the whistle, Amon-Ra St. Brown has the great idea of pitching the ball off to somebody to try to let them go ahead and take it into the end zone. And they considered it, and it was considered a fumble by the officials. That then Jared Goff again, credit to him, he was still out there trying to play hard in the final moments. He grabbed the football and ran to the end zone. And so this is where the problem comes in for me, which is why I wanted to talk about the sequence, was because all forward progress had been stopped. Again, it was pass interference, so all this stuff got canceled out anyway, but I just want to talk about that whole forward progress to fumble and all that. So all forward progress has been stopped. If one of those defensive players comes in with any extra effort to get him down to the ground and kind of slams him onto the ground, that defensive player would have been given a penalty, and it would have been first down for the Lions, giving them half the distance to the goal or at the 1 yard line. So the defensive player can't go overboard and make sure that guy's on the ground. So they just get him to the point where he's not moving anymore. It should have been forward progress is stopped. It's over. But the officials somehow, some way, convinced themselves that he was, not only was that not the case, but he was able to fumble the football for then Jared Goff to take it and get into the end zone. And they stated that was the case, that it was a fumble and that Jared Goff took it into the end zone and that it was a touchdown. But then they capped it off by saying it was offensive pass interference, and because it was an offensive penalty that happened with no time left, there's no review. They can't redo the play. The game's over. Cool. At the end of the game, it ends up with the Steelers winning. I was happy about that, but I just think the fact that that whole situation ended up, they called it a touchdown in the first place, is stupid. If you've watched football for any good amount of time, you understand what the forward progress is, and the fact that like all of that went the way it did was absolutely awful. If you go back and watch the play, it was stupid, the fact that any of that happened at all. Because like I said before, if the defensive player comes in and like slams Amon-Ra St. Brown to the ground after like once forward progress is stopped, they'll give him a penalty and it'll be bad on the defensive player. And that's why they just held him up and didn't go any farther. But you just can't let that come to a point where you think that is how that play went. That was stupid. But again, all's well that ends well. It ended with the offensive pass interference anyway, but it was just a very stupid. It almost makes you question, like, what are the officials out there, like, what are they doing? That's their job, is to know these rules, and it just felt like it didn't work out that way. And I feel like a lot of the NFL in general all believes that exact same thing. So it's not like I'm sitting here on an island, so this is no hot take. But it was just a very, very, very weird scenario, the way that played out. But all in all, Steelers got the win. I went into this game thinking the Steelers were going to get their shit clapped. So I think I came to a conclusion off of this game. I was happy. I watched because I've always maintained that I think the Steelers season is going to end in horrible fashion, get into the playoffs, probably lose the first playoff game that they play, or even if they win one. I just don't think a Super Bowl is an option, so I've been very negative on the season. But coming out of this game where I thought we were going to get destroyed, and we went out there and won a game that I never thought we had a chance of winning, I had a realization. And I think that realization was the fact that being a negative Nancy about how this season has gone is not going to help me anyway. And with that being the case, like, why not? I'm not going to sit here and like try to convince myself we have a chance at the Super Bowl when that's not the case. No. But I think there is room for me to go ahead and understand what I think the eventual outcome is going to be, but also open myself up to a chance of at least having fun with these games when there's a real competitive football to be played. And I think the Steelers, as much as I think they've had their flaws and all of that, I think they still have a chance as long as they win this next game against the Browns, or if it comes down to beating the Ravens in Week 17, doing that, making the playoffs, that I think there is something to this team that I've gotten that I'm going to get that has not been the case with prior teams, even when they make the playoffs. Is that I think with Aaron Rodgers at the helm and the way that the team is constituted right now, they really do have a chance to play a competitive game in the big games with a better team. The Bills, I think, is the only team I'm really negative about because I'm like, Josh Allen is just the Steelers' kryptonite. But everybody else in the AFC that they would meet in the playoffs, I really do think the Steelers can play a competitive football game and maybe win in the first round. And I think if I can do that, because I never had the expectation of winning a Super Bowl or nothing. So I'm like, maybe if I can just get a little positive and embrace the moment a little bit and hope that the Steelers can play a competitive football game in January in the playoffs, why not have a little fun with it? Because me being negative is not going to change the fact that they have a chance to win the division and go get into the playoffs. So why not? Don't be delusional, but at least have a little, at least be able to embrace the moment and feel some positivity in the moment and have a little bit of hope. Why not be a fan for a little bit? So, I don't know. I'm not sitting here trying to trick myself into thinking we have a chance at the Super Bowl. I just think that maybe I can get onto the bandwagon a little bit and have a little fun with it these last few weeks. And, the season is season is going to end how it's going to end, whether I am happy about it or sad about it. So why not have fun with it while I can? I feel like that's a pretty reasonable conclusion to come to. Last 3 games. I know we're at 2.5 hours at this point. Oh, this is so bad. Let me get through these quick. Texans, Raiders, close game. It sucked that the game was as close as it was. I really thought the Texans were going to run away with this game. The offense for Houston struggled a bit. CJ, 23 of 35, 187 and a touchdown. They ran the football for 83 total yards in this game. Didn't really do all that well. Nico Collins was great. 4 catches, 59 yards. Dalton Schultz had the touchdown catch from CJ in that game. I do have to give the Raiders a tad bit of credit. They played tough. Geno Smith had a decent game, 16 of 23, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Against that very good Houston defense, I think he had a very good game, especially by comparison, because Geno Smith's been ass all year long. Let's see. Running the football, I think Ashton Jeanty actually had a good game. He had 24 carries, 128 yards, and a touchdown. So I've been wanting to talk about how bad Ashton Jeanty has been all year and that offensive line have been. So I have to give them their credit when they do manage to run the football well. And again, against a very good Houston defense that I think is the best defense in the NFL. So the way I look at it is that, hey, it's like, when they do what they have to do, I have to give them credit when they make that happen. So let's see here. Next one. Oh, Jeanty also. He also did well running the football. Catching the football too. He had a 60-yard touchdown catch, and he made a big play that way. So he has, again, in this game, he has shown a little bit as to why he was a top 10 pick. I don't think that was necessarily a great pick to make with where they were as an organization, but, it is what it is. I think he had a very good game. Have to give him the credit for that. Brock Bowers also had a good game. 5 catches, 33 yards, and a touchdown. Again, against a very good Houston defense, which is why I have a little bit of I'm giving the Raiders a little bit of credit for showing some life in this game and making it tough on Houston, even though I think Houston definitely did not play as well as they possibly could have, and they could have destroyed the Raiders if they would have had their A game offensively. Sunday night game, Patriots, Ravens. Patriots win the game 28-24. Drake May, 31 of 44, 380 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. He played well. He played very well. He did throw that very bad pick late in the game that I think really gave the Ravens a chance to really ice it away. But the problem was that once that happened, Baltimore went away from Derrick Henry running the football, and they just weren't able to kind of stick to what was effective for them, and then gave the football right back to the Patriots to where they were able to go down the football field and get the touchdown to win it. The Patriots did not run the football that effectively. They had 79 total rushing yards in this game. Stevenson did have the most rushing yards, 8 carries, 51 yards, and a touchdown. Stephon Diggs was awesome, 9 catches, 138. Matt Collins, 7 catches, 69 yards. Kyle Williams had 2 catches, 46 yards, and a touchdown. Hunter Henry, had 6 catches, 35 yards, and a touchdown. Patriots played very well offensively, man. Again, defensively, they weren't really able to stop the Ravens when they were, they were running the football like they needed to. But I will give the Patriots credit in this game. They had a chance to like really take an L in this one, but they got the Ravens gave them the opportunity to win it, and Drake May and the Patriots went out there and took it. Let's get to the Ravens. Lamar Jackson, 7 of 10, 100 yards. Again, by that stat line. He did not finish the game because he left the game with some sort of injury. Tyler Huntley had to come in. He went 9 for 10, 65 yards. So another Lamar injury kind of taking away from that Baltimore Ravens team. But again, all in all, even with Lamar Jackson leaving the game, they still had a chance to win because in this game, Derrick Henry, 18 carries, 128 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Like when they were leaning on that Patriots defense and letting Derrick Henry run the football, as long as he wasn't fumbling it, of course, because he did have a fumble in this game. When they were letting him run the football, like they were leaning and they were really getting some big chunk yardage, and just totally running it down the Patriots' throat. But again, like I said, it's just like when the big plays had to be made, especially when the Ravens had to try to get the ball back and try to go back and win it, like try to ice the game. I think they were up 11 in the fourth quarter. All they had to do was ice the game and keep running the football, and for whatever reason, they put in their backup running back, Keaton Mitchell, and then they stopped running the football as effectively because, again, tackling Derrick Henry in the fourth quarter, as big as he is, as fast as he is harder than tackling a regular size, at least by NFL standards, running back in Keaton Mitchell. And again, it just sucks that was it was like apparently the plan is to alternate, not give Derrick Henry that many snaps. But again, in the moment where you need to go out there and win the football game, he only had 18 carries at that point. I feel like you should have just called an audible and said, hey, we're going to let Derrick Henry go out there and win this football game for us, especially because we don't have Lamar Jackson out here to do so. I just feel like it's a terrible plan that they had when it comes to that end of the game scenario. But Zay Flowers had 1 carry, 18 yards, and a touchdown. But it's just, again, the Baltimore just had a chance. They had a chance to win this football game, and they just didn't take advantage of. Again, they had to do it offensively because I just think defensively they just had no chance to really stop the Patriots. With Drake May, I think Drake May was just playing at a crazy level in that game. But it was just the fumbles for the Ravens because I think it was Derrick Henry had a fumble. Zay Flowers also had a fumble because they threw him the football on a crossing route, and then he was trying to make a play, and then the defense player kind of came up from behind him and punched the football out. I'm like, if they just take care of the football, I think it really does take away any opportunity for the Patriots to come back and win this football game the way the Ravens are running the football, as long as they kept giving it to Henry, of course. But it was just Zay Flowers had a decent game, 7 catches, 84 yards. Hopkins had 4 catches, 41 yards. Mark Andrews took a couple catches for 21. But it was just with the Ravens having their playoff hopes on the line in this game, had a real opportunity to ice it with a lead in the fourth quarter, and weird coaching decisions, taking Henry and not having him out there when he was the most effective player on that team at that moment. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And again, this now, because of that situation, either if the Ravens play the Packers this coming Sunday, if the Ravens either lose to the Packers or if the Steelers beat the Browns this Sunday, the Steelers win the division and make the playoffs. If not, it'll go to Week 17 where the Ravens and the Steelers will play each other for the division to kind of get into the playoffs. So hopefully it doesn't get to that, but it is what we'll see what it is this Sunday. Last but not least, Monday Night Football last night. Niners-Colts. Niners win the game 48-27. This is a rout of all routes. The Niners couldn't be stopped. Brock Purdy had a very good game. Awesome game. 25 of 34, 295 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, and a pick. Christian McCaffrey was awesome in this game. He had 21 carries, 117 yards, and then he also had another 6 catches, 29 yards, and 2 touchdowns. George Kittle was awesome in this game. 7 catches, 115 yards, and a touchdown. He went down with an injury. It was like some type of hamstring injury or something like that. Late in the game, he wasn't able to come back. But again, the game was already in hand by that point, but he did experience that injury, so I want to make sure I mention that. Juwan Jennings, 5 catches, 71 yards, and a touchdown. Demarcus Robinson had 2 catches, 23 yards, and a touchdown. Niners were just unstoppable offensively in that game. The Colts had no opportunity to stop them whatsoever. Again, when Brock Purdy's playing like that and he's playing efficiently, getting the ball where he needs to go, I just think the San Fran's a very hard team to stop. Even with all the injuries that San Fran has defensively, they're 11-4 on the season. They're playing they're playing their best football at the right time. And I think they're going to be a very hard out in the playoffs as long as their defense can kind of keep it together. But even still, with their defense, if they didn't explode like that offensively, the defense for San Fran did give up some points. To 44-year-old Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers played a lot better in this game by comparison to what he played last week. He went 23 of 35 for 277 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. One thing I will say is that he has no mobility, and every throw he has is practically all of his throws are ducks. Everything he just doesn't have any zip on that ball. But again, he hasn't done any football in 5 years, and at 44 years old, I just don't think it's really insane to think that there was going to be anything different. No, sorry, it's not insane to think that you would lose a little bit not playing the sport of football for 5 years and then you're getting into your 40s. It makes sense. But he definitely played a lot better in the game. He had a lot better control of the offense. They did a lot less dink and dunk. They were able to push the ball down the field just a tad bit more. A little bit more, not crazy, because the first play of the game, they tried to throw a go ball down the middle of the field and Phillip Rivers underthrew it. So, not a great look there, but otherwise I think he had a pretty decent game. Jonathan Taylor, 16 carries, 46 yards and a touchdown. Alec Pierce, 4 catches, 86 yards and 2 touchdowns. Josh Downs, 5 catches, 65 yards. Jonathan Taylor had another 3 catches for 33 yards. Pittman Jr. had 4 catches and 32 yards. Tyler Warren had 3 catches and 30 yards. So, in a normal game, if the Colts would have had any sort of fight defensively, this probably could have been a game where, the Colts had a chance to win. But it's just San Fran was just playing at such a high level in that game where the Colts just had no chance to go ahead and win it. So, definitely a big win for the 49ers. But again, the Colts at one point in this season, they were 7 and 1, 2, 3 and 1, 4 and 1, 5 and 1, 6 and 1, 7 and 1. At week 8, they were 7 and 1 on the season. But now in week 16, they are 8 and 7. 5 straight losses. 6 of the last 7 have been losses for them. Again, losing Daniel Jones is a big deal. With him, they definitely look like a lot better team. But even before Daniel Jones went out, they were kind of struggling. But it's just crazy to see how they were looking so great in the first half of the year, and then things can kind of fall apart so quickly. Again, losing your quarterback is definitely a big deal, but it's just definitely crazy how the tables can turn throughout the NFL season. All right. That's all the games. What were we doing? 2 hours and 47 minutes now. Definitely way longer of a podcast than I thought it was going to be. Thanks to me and Jay doing the whole brotherly arguing thing. So before we go, we have 3 games on Christmas that I wanted to do make our picks for and make a preview of. And then I was supposed to get Jason's picks as we go, but he left. So I left in the middle of the pod if you didn't notice. So it's just been me sitting here talking this whole time. So if you listen for a while, you understand what that was when Jace left. So I want to go through those 3 games, make my pick. I think I can probably guess which pick he would make in these games because of kind of how lopsided they'll be. So I'll make our picks, do a little quick preview, and get out of here hopefully before the 3-hour mark. So first game, Dallas at Washington. I'm going to take Dallas. I'm going to take a guess and say Jace will probably pick Dallas as well. If Jace doesn't agree with this, he can always go back and make whatever pick he wants to later, but we'll talk about it on the next pod. Dallas is a better football team. Washington's defense is terrible. I think Dallas will be able to go up and down the field on Washington, and I just think that with all the weapons that they have offensively, I just think Dak Prescott will be able to throw the football up and down the field. They'll score some points. I think Washington with Marcus Mariota not as efficient. I just think Washington doesn't have enough to kind of keep up, especially with how porous their defense is. I think Dallas wins that game. Next game, Detroit at Minnesota. Detroit's coming off the bad loss. They still have a tad bit of a chance at making the playoffs. Again, they just need so much to happen. I just don't think it's going to. But they still have a chance to kind of go out there and play hard. And they're playing against a Minnesota team that I think J.J. McCarthy will be out probably the rest of the season with his injury. So I think Minnesota is so bad defensively that even if Detroit's defense is still going to be hurt and not playing well, I just don't think I trust Minnesota's offense to be able to take advantage of that bad defense. And I think Detroit knows that Minnesota defense so well that I think even if they're not playing at their best, I think they'll be able to make enough plays. Again, I think if either of these teams get to 17 points, I think they probably win. I probably believe in Detroit a lot more to get that done than I do Minnesota, especially if they have whatever their third-string quarterback coming in playing. Even if it was J.J. McCarthy, I would still feel the same way. So I think Detroit's going to win that game. And then last but not least, on Christmas Day, you have Denver going to Kansas City. Come on, man. This is two different teams on two different trajectories of this season. Kansas City's down bad. They're down to their third-string quarterback. I think they're going to be trading, picking a guy up off waivers to try to take up that spot because Oladokin was definitely not going to get the job done for them to try to at least be competitive. But I just think Denver, with that defense, with the way that they're playing, I just think it's a much better football team. They have a lot more to play for. I think they still have a chance at being the number one team in the AFC in the playoffs. So I think all in all, I think Denver is just a different team. They have just a lot more to play for. I think Kansas City's checked out a little bit. They've done so much winning and they've been so locked in over close to the last 10 years with Patrick Mahomes at the helm. I think with things going as bad as they have been going over the last 2 weeks now with losing multiple quarterbacks and all that, Patrick Mahomes, obviously. So I just think all in all, I think Denver is going to win that football game because Denver, they have a lot more to play for. So that's it. So let's go ahead and get out of here. I apologize for not just apologize. I don't think it was a bad thing we had that whole big dispute, but the fact that it went as long as it did and the fact that it ended with Jace leaving the podcast altogether, that's the part I apologize for. But I think it was a decent podcast up until that point, and I think at least I tried enough to try to kind of pick up the pieces and kind of end the podcast. Again, this thing is way too long. If you're listening, hopefully you're not listening to it all in one sitting. That would be kind of crazy. Piece it out. If you have some extra time with it being the week of the holiday, we would appreciate if you could do that. We are going to do another podcast this week. Depending on how Jace feels, I'm not sure if he'll be on the next podcast, how pissed he is about this whole situation. I'm not sure. Hopefully he'll be able to figure it out, and we'll kind of get together and do the podcast later on Friday. But who knows? We'll see. But there will definitely be another podcast this week, no doubt about it. So that's about it. Let's just go ahead and get this podcast over with. We've been going for 3 hours now. Well, I've been going for 3 hours now. Jace kind of hopped off in the middle there. So let's end the podcast. So if you've been listening for a while, we appreciate you. If you're just now jumping on, hopefully you like us and enjoy us enough to join us on this ride of talking about sports in the dumbest way possible. And if you do like us and enjoy us, we would appreciate if you do a couple things for us. If you could, like our podcast, subscribe to the podcast, rate the podcast 5 stars wherever you listen to us. We're pretty much available on all audio platforms out there. So anywhere you can do that, we would love if you could do that. Also, if you could share our podcast with friends, family, enemies, anybody you feel like could enjoy the podcast. We put out on a weekly basis with it, and then during football season, 2 times a week. We would love if you can do that. And then last but not least, follow us on Twitter and or X, whatever you would like to call it. At JB Sports Pod is the podcast handle. At Joante Boozer is my handle. And at Jace Boozer1 is Jace's handle. And Jace ain't here to hand it over to, so I will go ahead and end the podcast here. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for always listening. Have a great day. Have a great night. And we will see you guys in a couple days. Oh, happy holidays. Goodbye, y'all.